Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the M. Chidambam Stadium here in Chennai. I say here, we're in London, they are there. The players have warmed up with some vigour, I'd say, actually, in the last half an hour, watching the big screens that we've got in our studio here in London. And, of course, great excitement. These mornings, the first of any test series, special to the players themselves, but special to the spectators that are tuning in all around the world. And here on TalkSport, we welcome you with open arms to another test match series, one that means a great deal because there's still an open slot for a place in the final of the World Test Championship. Sitting alongside me, and it's a lovely, well, it's not that cold a welcome. It could have been a lot colder outside. It's forecast shocking come Sunday. But anyway, Steve Harmison is alongside me. Steve.
Yeah, good morning, Mark. Good morning, everybody. It's going to be a thrilling test series, and one that you mentioned on Joe Root, 100 test matches. And Mark, could this be the first time a team's gone to India, and when the two teams line up, that the best player of spin is not actually Indian, you know, with the way Joe's played in Sri Lanka? So it's
a big call.
It's a big call.
I'd say that.
It's a big call, but I tell you what, the way he played in Sri Lanka, 226 and 186. That's you know, some good pedigree to go into what's going to be a fascinating series.
Yeah, and one of the many match-ups that's going to grab our attention is that between Joe Root and Virat Kohli, who might be the other best player of spin in the world. Now, those two were out in the middle for the toss. Joe Root won it. Unsurprisingly, has chosen to bat first. There's a history, isn't there, going to India, Harmy, that you bat first, you go big, and that sets you up in the game. Now, obviously, winning the toss is one thing, but batting well is another altogether. How wary, how nervous are those guys who'll start off? It will be Rory Burns and Mark Sibley, Dom Sibley, I should say, and Mark's his dad. And it's going to be Dan Lawrence at 3. It is confirmed that Mark Crawley, Zach Crawley won't play. It's a bad start, isn't it? Zach Crawley won't play. He went over marble dressing rooms. Dangerous things for wrists.
Very dangerous, Mark, but that's just the way it is over there. For some reason, you get the marble floors, you get the shiny floors, and he's unfortunately had a little bit of a slip, which it can happen. And you know, when you look at this England team and you ask the question of what England need to win the series in India, you've got to think, well, an element of luck, win 3 out of 4 tosses and bat big first innings, where the luck didn't go for them in the first up, because obviously Zach got injured. But I'm intrigued by Lawrence going to 3. I thought Root might have gone to 3.
No, Lawrence at 3. I think they had that set in their mind before the game. It was a choice between Lawrence or Crawley. Anyway, let's go back to Chennai and have a listen to the two captains.
We're going to bat first. We want to try and get the best of this wicket. I think it will deteriorate as the game goes forward. Maybe go a little bit up and down for the seamers, and obviously take spin later on. So hopefully we can make the most of it first innings, make a really big score, and try and lead the game that way.
Have you ever got any past life regression done? First test match in Nagpur, 50th in Vizag, and now the 100th in Chennai. And not to forget that you do really well against India. Is there some sort of an Indian connect somewhere?
No, I do really enjoy playing my cricket here. It's obviously holds a very special place in my career, and you know, it's a privilege to be back here. And what a great series, you know, to be coming into this game, two sides in good form. It makes for a really exciting prospect. So really looking forward to it.
You mentioned the two sides being in form. Great tour in Sri Lanka, personally and for the team. What are your expectations from this tour?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a different challenge once again. As I mentioned, India playing some fantastic cricket at the moment, and we're going to have to play right up at our best. But you know, we're very confident and really looking forward to the challenge. The guys have to relish it, and you know what a great opportunity it is for the group.
Your team news?
Yes. Let me just try and get this right. From our last test match, Zach Crawley, Mark Wood, Sam Curran and Johnny Bairstow miss out, and in comes Jofra Archer, Ben Stokes, Rory Burns. You've got the list, so you'll be able to tell me. I'm on the spot.
Sorry for putting you in that
it's all
place.
good.
Congratulations on your 100 test match, and go well in the series.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Jeff. Cheers.
Good luck, mate.
Virat, would you have batted first as well?
Yeah, for sure. Looks like a good pitch, hard surface. We see the surface fully now, which is very, very common in Chepauk when we play. But yeah, good cricketing wicket. We would have liked to bat first as well.
And your team news, I don't want to stump you.
Yeah, a few changes from the last test. I come in, Ishant comes back in.
Okay.
Shahbaz Nadeem makes, he plays the second game. Washington, Ashwin both start. So we're playing with 5 bowlers in Bumrah, Ishant, 2 offies and a left-arm spinner. And from Brisbane, the same batting order, and I come into the team.
Thanks for that, Virat, and congratulations, and looking forward to the series.
Thank you very much.
Well, Joe did miss Dan Lawrence. Dan Lawrence played well, I thought, in Sri Lanka. He shaped up right. He seemed to have some control of his wrists, which when you're playing spin in the subcontinent is very important because you can work with the ball. And he will bat at 3. Quite a challenge. In some ways, Harmy, you can get lucky by going in earlier, can't you? And not have to take spin the minute you take guard. Yeah,
and I think he's got both Sibley and Burns, they're going to face a bit of seam at the top. Bumrah and Ishant Sharma will bowl first up. There might be a little bit of pace in the wicket. Chennai, would you say, Mark, was probably the sort of quickest pitch in India? It has a little bit more bounce than most places, so I think the seamers will come into play which will help Rory Burns and Dom Sibley. But I agree with you when you say about Dan Lawrence. The thing about Lawrence, I thought, in Sri Lanka, Mark, was he had a game plan. He seemed to have a game plan. He either went all the way forward or he went all the way back, where if you look at someone like a Crawley or a Sibley, they seem to get caught on the crease a little bit, and that became their downfall. So it's going to be interesting to see how Dan Lawrence goes at number 3, but one I'm sure he'll be relishing.
Well, behind him is England's captain. He'll bat at 4, as he did so successfully in Sri Lanka, and he really put right last year, where he was by no means poor, but equally by no means at his best. Joe Root playing his 100th Test match today. Charging in, he bowls, and Root goes back and he edges the ball to the 3rd man boundary. Little leap in the air, a big punch of the right arm and fist, with England gunning to win the 2nd test. The captain has made a splendid 100.
We're in an uncomfortable-ish position in Nagpur. Youngster walking in, I think he was at 6 or 7, I was on about 7, and he walked out and he said to me, "All right, lad, what's happening?"
The chirpy chappy.
Yeah, and I thought you got a long career.
Root plays him well this time, pushed off the back foot, a typical Joe Root shot.
England are very lucky to have a player like him leading, you would say, as captain, but able to bat in the middle order like he does.
To play 100 Test matches, it's no mean feat, and he'll be very proud. His family will be very proud.
There's no surprise that he's playing 100 Tests. I think he's probably got another 70 left in him as well, so this is definitely not the end.
Well, nice words from Graham Thorpe, who himself has played 100 Test matches and is England's batting coach out there, and actually it's had quite a big role to play in the development of this most modern England side. I'd look at it now and, I've got to ask you, Harmy, we don't see Stuart Broad. It became a straight choice between Broad or Anderson. This is Ed Smith, the chairman of selectors, out in Madras and handing that beautiful silver cap to Joe Root, commemorating his mighty achievement. Ben Stokes, who's arrived, is apparently very fit and playing great in the nets, bowled especially well yesterday, which allows him to be chosen as the 3rd seamer rather than have to think about playing Broad, Anderson and Archer. And Archer in because he's bowled the speed of light, in the words of Joe Root. The only surprise there, maybe, you could argue, Nadeem coming in as sort of 3rd choice spinner. We thought we'd see Akshar Patel replace the injured Ravi Jadeja. Anyway, Nadeem it is, and then Ishant Sharma is back, Jasprit Bumrah. There were so many options in the seam department for the Indian side. They've gone with the 2 bounciest and quickest of their seam attack. Some of the youngsters did so well in Australia to pull off winning that series, arguably the most famous win abroad by any Indian side. Javagal Srinath is the match referee, tall, slim fellow in the middle there, who'll take the players out onto the pitch for the opening ceremonies. You got a glimpse of Ollie Pope. Important occasion for Ollie Pope, who hasn't had any cricket for a long time. You get the butterflies in your stomach before the start of any Test match, but when you haven't played, it's so different, Harmy, batting in the middle to batting in the nets, or even compared to middle practice, isn't it? It
is, absolutely, and he got a little taste of a middle practice in Sri Lanka, the warm-up games. He got 50 odd not out in a 2-day game, which ended up being a 1-day game because of the rain. So he's had a small sample, but I agree, it's very difficult to get going.
You can hear the audio effects over the, well, just off the back of the anthem. Quite a strong breeze in what is usually a very hot and very humid city, a bustling city, typical sort of urban metropolis down in southern India. A reminder of the teams: England batting first, having won the toss, have Burns, Sibley, Lawrence at 3 now that Crawley's out, Root, Stokes, Pope, Butler, Bess, Archer, Leach and Anderson. And India, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Chedeshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, who did so well in Australia, taking over from Kohli as captain, Rishabh Pant, Washington Sundar, really interesting cricketer, controlled, intelligent young cricketer, Ravichandran Ashwin, Jasprit Bumrah, Ishant Sharma, Shahbaz Nadeem. And there we are, the World Test Championship, a good idea of how much England have got to do, given New Zealand has secured a place. In other words, England have got to go past India. It's as simple as that. It'll take a lot to do. They have to play very well in this series. That pitch out there, we just had a little glimpse of it, nothing more. They say it looks uneven, but is likely to play better than perhaps it looks. That's so often the place with the cricket pitches. You can spend so long looking at them. What is it Len Hutton said? Pitches are like something or other. You never know quite how they'll turn out. We better not go down that route. As Rory Burns grown a little hair down his back. That lockdown does that to people. And with him out there, Sibley, who really did play well in that second innings in Sri Lanka for England to get over the line. So very exciting moments. The start of a series between India and England. 4 test matches that mean a great deal, not in terms of just the World Test Championship, but the long and honoured rivalry of matches between these countries. Way back, 1932, in Madras, as it was then called, was when India first played against England, and that was India's first ever test match against anyone. With that piece of information and a pleasant, sunshiny scene in India, I hand over to Neil Manthorpe.
Thank you very much indeed to Mark Nicholas. And not only was their first test match against England at this ground, it was also their first victory in 1952, 20 years later, their 24th match at the same venue. It took 24 matches, Harmy, for India to win a test match. Morning.
Good morning, Manners. Yeah, I can't wait for this. Mark mentioned earlier in the build-up about excitement and hair stand up on the back of your neck, but once that anthem's done and you've belted it out, that for me was when the butterfly started. I knew that it was time to the game to start, and especially on the first morning of a test match, not knowing what's going to happen, trying to work out little gamesmanship, one up on each other. Obviously, as a bowler, you love to go out and bowl first, but on pitches like this, you'd like to see your batters bat for about 140 overs, and you've got something to bowl at and something to play with. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens here from an India point of view, because they've got 3 spinners in their side, they've got a brand new SG ball in hand, and the seamers are going to have it.
And it's Ishant Sharma with the first ball of the series. He's bowling to Rory Burns, and that first delivery is bang on line and length, full, and Burns just pushes it away, nudges it into the offside, and there's no run from the first delivery. Interesting that you brought up the subject of the SG ball, because it's been remodelled apparently. I mean, we'll have to see. The evidence will be presented to us and you'll be keeping a keen eye on it, but apparently it's harder and has a more pronounced seam.
Yeah, they're saying it's got the cork in the middle has gone a bit harder, and the seam's gone more Kookaburra-like, where it's a little bit more pronounced as it would be a Duke. And just off that very first ball, just a little bit of bounce there for Ishant Sharma and Rory Burns. Rory Burns played it beautifully, to be fair. Got in behind it and blocked it right down.
3 slips in a gully. Here's Ishant Sharma to Burns, flicks it away for the first run down towards fine leg. Picked up and fielded in the deep by Shahbaz Nadeem, who's in the bowl his left arm spin, third choice. Burns is off the mark then. First run, and England are underway. England won the toss, decided to bat first, no great surprise there. Dom Sibley and Rory Burns having a chat in the middle now. Just had the first couple of deliveries. Ishant Sharma's only 32, how about that? Feels like he's been around for, I was going to say, at least a decade, and he has been around for a decade.
He's been around a while, yeah, man. He's not far off 300 Test wickets, so for a seamer out in India, predominantly playing in India, that's a phenomenal achievement.
It certainly is, and an average of he averages 32. It's his age as well, as you said, almost 300 wickets. Fabulous effort. Now then, the right-handed Dom Sibley. He's got 1 slip less. He's got a leg gully. No surprise there. 2 slips, a gully, backward point, leg gully. He's got a mid-wicket as well. Sharma in full outside the off stump, and it's left alone by Dom Sibley. So it's funny how reputations stick, don't they? With Dom Sibley, you get caught leg gully once, and then every team you play against for the next 5 years puts a leg gully in.
Yeah, sometimes I just wonder if you're a batsman to get caught early in a position where you're quite strong.
Yeah, so they're good at scoring.
They can start bowling at you, but I actually think he's susceptible a little bit finer than that. More leg slip than leg gully. But it is a good field position for Sharma, because he does push it across the batsman when he loses his wrist.
Here's Ishant once again up to the crease now, over the wicket bowls, a little wide outside the off stump, and it's left alone by Dom Sibley. I'm interested that he's got mid on and mid off, but also a mid wicket. So it's that flick, isn't it, that India are trying to get Sibley playing. You're just flicking it up in the air on the onside. It's not quite unusual to have a mid-wicket in the first over of a test.
No, I think what they're trying to do, and what Ishant's looking as though he's doing, he's forced that last 2 balls to be well outside off stump, because that's where obviously India want to bowl at him. He's got protection on the leg side because he thinks that's where Sibley's quite strong. He's probably looking at Sibley to say, right, play me a bit squarer. If you play me a bit squarer, it brings leg slip or leg gully into play.
Here is Ishant Sharma once again. He goes full and straight on off stump, and Sibley pushes it up towards mid-on the onside. Burns off the mark with a single. Dom Sibley has faced 3 deliveries. Reminder that England won the toss and chose to bat first here at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai, and decided to have a bat first. No crowd, no spectators in this wonderful near 50,000 seat stadium, but there will be up to 25% allowed in for the second test match. Ishant Sharma about to complete the first over. There really is an eeriness about this enormous stadium, hardly anybody in it. Here is Ishant once again, and Dom Sibley comes forward and pushes it gently up towards mid-on. It's gone straight to the fielder, so tidy enough start from Ishant Sharma, fielded by Captain Virat Kohli at mid-on. There'll be some nerves and butterflies in the stomachs of Rory Burns and Dom Sibley. Particularly Burns, I was thinking, even though he's the senior man, he's the older player, but his life's been changed quite a bit in recent months. Become a father and hasn't played since August.
No, he hasn't. He's probably been in the nets in the tent at the Oval, trying to keep warm, woolly hat on, big jumper on, bats throwing balls at him for the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, getting himself ready for what the challenge is going to be in India. But the feeling of becoming a father for the first time, I'm sure he's just bouncing on air. It'll be, the emotions are brilliant when that happens, and fingers crossed that he can get off to a good start here, because I still think there's a few question marks on selection for Rory Burns. He's played 21 test matches, he's got 200s, he's still to be averaging 32. I think it's still that light on moment, and that big 100 hopefully is round the corner for him.
Right, it's going to be Jasprit Bumrah with second over, and it's before he bowls his first delivery. Actually, I let him bowl his first delivery because he's running up now. Just the 2 slips and the gully in for Jasprit Bumrah to Rory Burns. Down the leg side, and he's glanced it, and he's got some bat on it too. It didn't quite carry to Rishabh Pant, who dived away to his right, got a glove to it, but only on the half volley. And Burns will pick up a second run. And a little behind time, I'm sorry, a little tardy. It's good morning to Jarrod Kimber. Hang on, we're having a bit of mic problems there. Try again, Jarrod.
I'm just over here.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to say that was his first ball in a test match in India, in his 18th test.
Just extraordinary.
17 tests at home. Would have been nice to get a strangle down the leg side to begin in India.
There must have been a few Pakistan bowlers and cricketers who played 70 or 80 test matches without playing one at home. Rishabh Pant just got that one right on the end of the finger, and he's just a little bit discomforted for the moment. Here's Jasprit Bumrah once again up to the crease, short run up, stuttering as he always does, and that one is left alone outside the off stump. England 2 without loss, winning the toss, batting first. And if you haven't heard, the team is Rory Burns, Dom Sibley, Darren Lawrence at 3, Joe Root, Ben Stokes, Ollie Pope straight back into the team, having proved his fitness, Jos Buttler, Dom Bess, Jofra Archer, Jack Leach and Jimmy Anderson. So no Stuart Broad, no Moeen Ali. Here is Bumrah once again, and that one again once more left alone outside the off stump by Dom Sibley, who's yet to get off the mark. 6 balls faced, England 2 without loss.
Intrigued. Jimmy Anderson might be sitting there wondering, he'd be thinking, right, see what this SG ball's like. Is it going to swing? Well, we've got 2 seamers who don't swing it. In Bumrah and Sharma, they both take the ball back into the batsman, and if anything, they hold it up off the seam more than any sort of shape or way. So we're probably not going to get any indication if this new ball, this SG new ball, does swing in these conditions.
Bumrah once again up to the crease now. Again, it's left alone and taken behind by Rishabh Pant. The ball, he's angling it into Dom Sibley, isn't he? It just seems like it almost, Pant's taking it down the leg side, even though it's passing past the off stump. It looks like it's swinging off the pitch, almost.
I think that must be the seam. The seam is probably a little bit more pronounced than what a Duke ball is, but a Kookaburra ball is. And they're saying it's like razor sharp. So if there is any sort of moisture in the wicket, that's probably it. It's probably hitting the seam and nipping back.
Here is Bumrah once more. That's full. Almost drivable, you'd have to say. It's almost a half volley, but Sibley's defending it, pushing it gently up towards mid-off once again, and there's no run.
And this is what Bumrah and Sharma will be looking for, especially against Sibley. The ball that is probably at fourth and a half, fifth stump, just outside, and just nipping back, getting them through the gate, because Sibley does have a tendency to play bring his bat down from second slip and bring across himself and leave a gap between bat and pad.
Here is Bumrah once again, and back of a length, Sibley back and across, onto off stump, pushes it up to Washington Sundar at mid-wicket, and there's no run. The over comes to an end, so one each from Ishant Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah. We heard Jared Kimber talking about Jasprit Bumrah has just bowled his first over on Indian soil. There's another first. The groundsman, V. Ramesh Kumar, just 42 years old. This is the first pitch he has prepared, not only for a test match, but for a first-class game. Extraordinary story. He's a very successful businessman, just 42 years old. He's got a couple of... he's a businessman, basically. He runs a couple of apparel companies. Jared, you're looking like are you going to finish the story?
Are we talking about the groundsman?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to fix my mic. But
I thought you would pick. That's why I thought you picked it up in order to say something.
No. The groundsman story is incredible, though, isn't it? And it'd be very interesting to see if that changes how groundsmen are hired in the future.
Here's Ishant Sharma for his second over. Oh, he's left alone by Burns, not too far away from the off stump.
Because essentially what they're doing is they're saying that this is a management job. That what we need to do is make sure that there are key things that we are delivering, whereas all the groundsmen we've ever met are sort of grumpy old guys who wake up at 4 a.m. and do things. They're not saying that those skills aren't useful.
Men of the earth.
They're not saying those skills aren't useful, but what they're saying is that management, to get it ready on time and to have all the people involved, is the most important thing. But it could go horribly wrong if this test is over in a day and a half. We may never have another groundsman who comes from a business background ever again.
So you may wonder how he got into groundsmaning, but he started his own academy. He decided that he was a very successful businessman with over 700 employees. Here's Ishant Sharma once again. Rory Burns pushes it defensively up towards mid-off, and Ishant does his own fielding. So he started an academy for underprivileged kids. He wanted to get them involved, to give them a chance, and then he bought some ground and then realised that he needed someone to prepare pitches, and he apparently couldn't find anybody and couldn't find the right people, so he thought he'd do it himself. He went to the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association Groundsman's annual course.
Not sure that's the official name, but yes, that's what he did.
It's just an amazing story. And then, he applied his business mind to the art and science of groundsmaning, preparing pitches. Here's Ishant Sharma once again. Rory Burns pushes it away up wide of mid-on, and they turn for a second. They might even come back for a third. It might even go all the way for 4. No, it does just hauled back by Washington Sundar, but there's a comfortable 3. Longest part of the ground out towards wide long on, deep mid-wicket, and Rory Burns does pick up 3, and he moves on to 5.
Good shot there by Rory Burns, and a good confidence booster as well. It didn't go for 4. As a batsman, you want to see boundary. You feel confidence by getting boundaries, but his head's in a good position here. His weight's coming forward. Let the ball come to him, and he used the pace of the ball, the angle that Ishant Sharma gave him, and he just glided it through sort of wide mid-wicket, which will give Rory Burns a lot of confidence. Bear in mind, this kid hasn't batted in the middle since August.
Very, very early days. 2.5 overs gone, but I must say he's looking very solid. Settled as much as you can do in 2.5 overs. Here is Ishant Sharma once again outside the off stump, and once more it's left alone, leaving the ball as well as Dom Sibley does is one of his great strengths. Very frustrating for a new ball bowler who wants to make the batsman play at as many as possible.
I think Sibley will be happy the way he's shaped up. Again, another one like Burns there. He's shaped up well. His head's above off stump. He's let the ball come to him. He's let the ball go through. I think India are missing a trick here. They've bowled every ball well outside of Dom Sibley's off stump. You're more or less giving him a sighter to get in.
And he is perfectly happy, as you said, to leave the ball and just keep leaving it. He'll leave it the whole session if you give him a chance to. Here's Ishant once more. Sibley does play at this one. He comes forward and steers it straight to Jasprit Bumrah, who's fielding at backward point. That's an unusual sight, Jasprit Bumrah at backward point, but there he is. But just to conclude on the groundsman story, it's really interesting. So
he's a delegator, basically.
Well, I suppose more a manager, a grounds manager. I think probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, they saw his skill when he came into this course, and they decided he was so good that he was the best candidate for them to come in. But I think he has a lot of people working for him, and he gets a lot of information. But he certainly, has a skill as a groundsman as well.
Here is Ishant once more. That's very full, and he pushes it up towards mid-off. They run through for a single as Ravichandran Ashwin does the tidying up. So it's a business and science approach to grounds. I mean, as Jared's saying, that traditionally, historically, the groundsman is the guy who's been there for
worked his way up,
25 years, 30 years. Yeah, that's right, and he knows every blade of grass and just has a feeling, and there's a way that it's always been done, and you water it this much 2 days before, and there's a sort of tradition. So this is a slightly more scientific approach.
It's bizarre they give him a test pitch to be his first one on the ground. It's like, right, you've done well captain in the second team, go and captain England.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Gareth Batty's joined us. He's going to be on for the next half an hour. Morning, Bats.
A very good morning to you both, and to everybody listening.
It's a beautiful sunny day in Chennai, 30 degrees. Nice fresh breeze as well. Here's Jasprit Bumrah, fourth over of the innings, and it's pushed away for a single by Sibley towards backward point. And they scamper through for a single, and Dom Sibley moves up to 2. Rory Burns has 5. First impressions for the first 15 minutes, Bats?
Looks a good surface. Very nice toss to win at the start of a series for Joe Root. We haven't seen too much from this new SG ball. We haven't seen much lateral movement. We've seen a pretty consistent bounce. We've seen an amount of patience of how the Indians have bowled. They've not bowled too straight. They've tried to stack it outside the eye line of both batsmen, testing their patience on leaving the ball. But sat here now, it's a big shout early doors, but it looks a very, very fine batting surface at the minute.
I concur, Bats. It is early days, isn't it? I mean, and we can see. Here's Bumrah again around the wicket to Rory Burns, left alone again, and it's taken behind by Rishabh Pant. But I think 4 overs is fair enough to just. I mean, we haven't seen any lateral movement at all, have we?
Yeah, I mean, Steve touched on it. It's a massive series, and both sets of players, whether you're playing your 100th Test match like Joe Root or making debuts that not that anybody is, it's just there are nerves kicking around. So you go to the sort of safety blanket, as it were, of making sure the batter's not going to put you under pressure by scoring too many runs, and you sort of ease your way into it from a bowling perspective.
England 7 without loss. Burns turns the next one away behind square on the leg side, sets off for a single, and scampers back for the second as well. Fielded by Shahbaz Nadeem, the left arm spinner down at long leg. Rishabh Pant takes it. I think Pant's really still hurting that finger. I think it's the middle finger on his right hand, that delivery in the very first over, first ball of the second over rather, from Jasprit Bumrah, that he dived and he just took it on the end of the finger, and every now and then he just takes the glove off and just gives it a squeeze and a rub. But Burns with another couple moves on to 7. Dom Sibley has 2. England 9 without loss, winning the toss, batting first at the MA Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Here's Bumrah once more. Burns tucks it away off his pads out towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. And for those of you who haven't heard the England team, I'll get Gareth Batty's comments on it in a moment. Burns and Sibley, Lawrence at 3, Dan Lawrence, Joe Root, Ben Stokes, Ollie Pope, Jos Buttler, Dom Bess, Jofra Archer, Jack Leach and Jimmy Anderson. Was that what you were expecting, Bats?
I think it's what we were expecting. I think certainly I was hoping that they'd squeeze Moeen somehow, Moeen Ali, but a difficult thing to do with the consistency of selection that England are trying to get.
2 slips in a gully. Here's Bumrah once again, left alone by Burns outside the off stump. Did the thought occur to you, given where Moeen Ali batted 4 years ago on the Tour de India, when Zach Crawley was injured, did you just wonder whether Moeen Ali might have been squeezed in at 3?
Yeah, I did think that. He'd been pushed in, and they were wanting to use his batting skills as well as his bowling skills. Quite often, one of your skill sets as an all-rounder gets forgotten a little bit, and Moeen finds himself batting at 7 and 8 quite a lot. But obviously in first-class cricket, he bats right up the order at 3 and 4. So he can certainly do it, and his numbers stack up that way.
is Bumrah once again, just wide enough for Burns to leave a line outside the off stump, and he remains on 7. Dom Sibley has 2. England 9 without loss after 4 overs. You continue with that thought, Bats, and I'm going to make way for Andrew McKenna for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I think England, certainly over a period of time now, have had really consistent messages to players, and they're picking them to perform certain roles. Lawrence played very well in Sri Lanka, so the opportunity to get him up at 3, a position where for a period of time it's been who's going to bat at 3. We want Root in there, we want somebody else in there. It's an opportunity for a young man to stake his claim, which is brilliant for him. Disappointed for Moeen Ali, but you know, are you going to use 6 bowlers in your lineup anyway? But it's an interesting one.
Morning Bats, morning everybody. It's TalkSport and TalkSport 2 bringing you the cricket. Every ball of the series is exclusively live on TalkSport 2, but we're also on TalkSport at the moment as well, as England win the toss and bat 9 without loss after 4, and Ishant Sharma is coming in for the first ball of the 5th over, and it's dead straight, and Dom Sibley is pushing forward, and there is no run. Just that one half chance so far this morning, with Rory Burns glancing one first ball from Jasprit Bumrah down the leg side. Rishabh Pant getting his fingertips on it, as Manners has mentioned, but not getting close enough to catch it. Now, India for Sibley have got a very straight mid-on, and when I say straight, he's so straight he's between the non-striker and the umpire. He's only just off the cut strip. There's a shortish mid-wicket and a deep mid-wicket as well, so they're looking for the flick off the toes here. Ishant is in. It's a ball that could be flicked off the toes, but Sibley is actually pushing it up to a wide-ish mid-on. No run. Gareth Batty, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's bowled very full this morning to Sibley as Sharma, and he's generally bowled it more on the sort of 4th off stump line, so not targeting the stumps, if anything trying to shape the ball away. Traditionally he's been a bowler that's fallen away in his action and targeted the stumps, so he's swung it in more, and they started with the leg slip, but now they've got more of an umbrella field on the leg side, a very straight man for a full ball that you might punch down the ground, then a clip man where you'd see in the box man for an off spinner, and then a man splitting them a little bit deeper, almost tempting Sibley to hit the ball in those areas and try and get him so he's not quite into the ball, not leading with that left side, not leading with his head, seeing if he's still not getting his feet moving. It's an interesting policy because it's a bit of a change from what they started.
2 slips and a gully, extra cover mid-off, and then the aforementioned 2 short catches on the leg side looking for a clippers. Ishant goes in, that's outside of the off stump, and it's through to Rishabh Pant, and there is no run.
The strange thing is, the change has happened quite quickly, so it's almost like they were plan A, right, let's go for this, but we're not going to spend too long with this, then we're going to start bowling a bit fuller, get him driving down the ground. He's not a man who comes hard at the ball. Let's try and get him to hit the ball, to put some pace on it, to then possibly, the field suggests they want him to clip it in that mid-wicket region, but it actually might be to get him driving through the offside, to bring the 3 slips in now that have come a little bit narrower than maybe the 2 and 1 that they had with a gully.
Sibley waits, you can hear him tapping his bat. Ishant is on the way. Right arm over the wicket, it's a slower ball, and Sibley is waiting for that one, just pushing it out on the offside into the cover region, and there is no run. As Ishant comes past the umpire. Nitin Menon and Anil Chowdhury are the standing umpires in this match. Nitin Menon will then stand in the second match as well. Virender Sharma takes over as the standing umpire. But of course, with home umpires for these games, Nitin Menon is the only Indian international umpire. So Anil Chowdhury is actually on Test match debut today. So he'll be wanting to get a couple of good decisions early doors.
I'll tell you what, a couple of our big fellas in the room here that took a new ball very often for England, they want to be bowling a slower ball, 15th ball of the Test match.
Well, it was a no ball as well, so he wouldn't have particularly enjoyed it. Sibley's turning this one out on the leg side. There's no run to the square of the mid-wickets. So yes, it's 10 without loss. Ishant has now gone for 6 from the 16 balls that he has bowled. Yep. Darren Gough, Steve Harmison, Gareth Batty as summarisers for this one. And as I mentioned, every ball of this India-England series, Test matches, T20s and one-day internationals, all exclusively live on TalkSport 2 and also on TalkSport for the time being as well. The place to be for the live action. Ishant on the way, bowling. Sibley, nothing to do with that one. And again, just tails in toward, once it's past the stumps off of the seam. We are going to have to keep an eye on this ball. And also, as Neil Manthorpe mentioned, the first time that this curator has been in charge of a pitch, so we've actually got a combination we've never seen before. This pitch and this ball, Gareth. And it's something that you do have to bear in mind and say, how are the two going to react with each other?
Yeah, all the stats that players and teams have nowadays are possibly out of the window with those two bits of information. And already Virat Kohli is changing the field again for Sibley. He's almost got two drive men now that are staggered, one very close at a straight mid wicket that you'd see for an off spinner, one a bit deeper, and then mid-on has gone straighter again. So they're trying to get that ball fuller.
Ishant in. Oh, that is an absolute jaffer. That's past the outside edge of Sibley's bat and has gone through to Rishabh Pant at shoulder height. That is an absolute beauty to finish the fifth over of the match. Ishant's third, and well, out of nowhere really, that one. That's beaten the shoulder of the bat and goes through to the keeper. No run. Jared Kimber is our analyst once again here on TalkSport 2.
Thanks, Mike. I just want to talk about Ishant Sharma. He's kind of famous for being a laughingstock in Test cricket for a very long time, which is incredibly unfair on any Asian seamer ever. But for the first 70 tests, he averaged 37, and he became a punching bag for Indian social media. And as you can imagine, there's quite a few people on Indian social media. So he became very much the player that everyone laughed at. The last couple of years in India, he hasn't played many tests. He's played, I think, 5 or 6 tests. He's got an average of 17 with the ball in those games. And in his last 5 years of Test cricket all around the world, a lot of this in India as well, he's taken 95 wickets at 22.5. So he's had a very James Anderson-like, late career after India have invested so much time in him, and he's suddenly become one of the best seam bowlers in the world in India and away from home. So very much not the laughingstock anymore.
Bumrah starts the 6th with Rory Burns coming forward, just pushing up to mid-on, and there is no run. Interestingly, that one that just took off from a length, the last ball from Ishant, actually was about the first one that's gone down with a seam slightly scrambled. So the rest, the presentation of the seam onto the pitch has been absolutely beautiful. But on that occasion, slightly scrambled, but we saw the extra bounce. One man that would have enjoyed seeing a delivery like that, delighted to say with us for the first time this morning, Darren Gough. How are you, Dazzler?
Yeah, good morning, chaps. Hope everyone's okay.
All good, mate. Bumrah in, short, over Burns' head and through to Pant, and there is no run.
Yeah, interesting start, isn't it? This one, as expected, pitch a bit slow, not much pace in it. Bumrah and Ishant Sharma bowling. It's good on Jared there to talk us through about Ishant Sharma. It is amazing, really, when you consider that first 70 Test matches, averaging just under 40. The way he's recovered, very much similar to the Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad, where both of them, I don't think, averaged under 30 till they played 100 tests.
Burns waits, bat raised as Bumrah comes in around the wickets, angling in towards the stumps, but Rory Burns is up to that to keep it out, and there is no run.
I actually did something on Anderson the other day. His figures start to get really good around the 50th test, but I don't think he started quite as young as Ishant Sharma. Also, he got to bowl in England, which Ishant Sharma didn't.
I think what it does as well, you know, guys, I think it sums up the way cricket's going. If bowlers, as they get experience and get the ball in the right areas in this day and age of Test cricket, it's time to cash in.
Bumrah around the wicket. Burns is taking that from roundabout off stump out to square leg, where Nadeem will do the fielding and there is no run.
Yeah, I think it's quite obvious around the world, the bowlers that put the ball in that danger areas, bringing the batsman forward, slips in place in Test cricket. They're not quite as patient as they used to be in yesteryear, as we've seen some of the shots and dismissals over the past few years of Test cricket all around the world, and games finishing in 3 and 4 days. So you get the ball in the right areas, you're in the game as a fast bowler at this moment in time.
Jasprit full toss, low full toss actually to Rory Burns outside of off stump. He's just gone across the line of that one, hits it up to mid-on, and there is no run. England 10 without loss in the Chennai Sunshine. 10 o'clock in the morning, 9:30 starts, and therefore we'll be going through till late afternoon. Sunset due to be around about 6:10, so if the over rate is slow, it's going to be making up before play starts, so we'll be starting even earlier in the morning, because I don't think the light's going to hold a great deal later. Jasprit in once again. Burns solidly forward and pushing back down the pitch. No run.
To be fair, Macca, I think once we get past that first hour, we might see a bit of spin. I don't think we'll be doing overtime tonight. The pitch don't look as though it's got much seam movement. There's not much swing in the air.
Well, the new curator said he thought day 1 would be decent for the fast bowlers, day 2 and 3 would be good to bat, and 4 and 5 it would break up. Well, it's easier to say that,
you win the
isn't
toss
it?
whenever you go to India or Sri Lanka or Pakistan. Listen, you win the toss, I would say you're going to bat most of the time. It's always going to turn as the game goes on. I think the second test might turn a little bit more than this first one, a little bit earlier, but I think it tells you when India have got 3 spinners, I think, in their starting 11. So it tells us it's going to turn as the game goes on.
Yep, the curator prepared 4 pitches, 2 for this match and then 2 for the second test next week, as Ishant starts the new over. Sibley's dropping this into the offside. Burns is offering to go through for a single, but Sibley doesn't want it. He's happy to remain 2 from 21 balls faced now. England remaining 10 without loss.
Yeah, I think with Dom Sibley, it must be a bit of a relief as well, coming into the side. I say big runs in that second test match, didn't he, in Sri Lanka? It must be quite odd for him, really, going out to bat after the winter he's had so far, facing fast bowlers with a new ball. Normally in Sri Lanka, it was facing left-arm spin, wasn't it? Straight up. Very difficult thing to do when you're an opening batsman. Used to facing that shiny new ball.
Yeah, and Buldenia had an absolute field day, didn't he? Ishant in, Sibley coming forward, pushing out to cover, and there is no run once again.
Yeah, I think we might see spin pretty early. Looking at the conditions, looking at the pitch. Both accurate bowlers though, aren't they? Ishant Sharma, especially as he's got older, the second half of his career. He can bowl a quick ball, but he tends to bowl within himself. Tall bowler, hits the deck hard, back of a length, frustrates the batsman. A little bit of wobble seam here and there, trying to get some leg cutters going at these England batsmen.
Well, Ishant's closing in on 300 test wickets and also 100 at home. He's got 98 in home test matches. He's in, and that's a straightish ball that Sibley is working into the leg side, and that is straight to the fielder at short mid-on. That is Pujara, and he takes it on the bounce there, and that is the trap that India are trying to set for Sibley.
I think it's a good trap as well. I think it's bowling in these conditions. I did an article the other day and I was talking about it. It says you've got to listen, there's no swing, there's going to be no seam, you've got to bowl at the stumps, you've got to give yourself half a chance, you've got to get the field right. I think it's the field I would have had as a fast bowler, what they've got to Dom Sibley. Ball straight, ball at the stumps, one just keeps a little bit low, nips back, you're in the game. Obviously the slips are there if the odd one, if it does seem.
2 in a gully waiting, Sibley's forward, that's hit in the middle of the bat, and Pujara fields at close mid-on, and there is no run. England remain 10 without loss here on TalkSport 2.
As a fast bowler, you know, you're playing on these sort of pitches where you know there's not going to be much pace, there's not much bounce, it can be lower. Your heart sinks after 2 or 3 overs and you're thinking, where's your wicket going to come from? But you've got to keep going, you've got to keep hitting that back of a length, put pressure on the batsman, get the field settings right, you've got to keep communicating with the captain. It's going to be an hard couple of hours for India. England gets stuck in, and once you get in, magic word, cash in.
Absolutely. Sibley waits, bat raised, gets into position and allows this one through to Rishabh Pant with nothing doing, raises the bat high and sends Ishant back to his mark to prepare all over again and send the final one of the over down. Interesting, actually. Burns and Sibley opening, but of course, as was mentioned earlier, Rory Burns hasn't played any cricket for an awful long time, yet he took the first ball. There was no suggestion that of allowing Sibley as the man who, if you like, had been playing more cricket. No, Burns is the number one. He wants to face the first ball. He likes facing the first ball. Get me out there, get me facing it.
To be fair, I'm not saying I've opened too many times in my cricketing career, although I've done a bit of one-day cricket. I would always prefer to face the first ball. You might just get a loosener.
Ishant here for the final one of the over. Sibley playing that gun barrel straight, and there is no run as it goes to mid-on to complete the 7th over of the innings. England 10 without loss. Burns has 7, Sibley 2. Burns has faced 17 balls for his 7. Sibley has faced 26 balls for his 2 runs. Delighted to say Akash Chopra is also with the TalkSport team for this game, and Akash is with us for the first time now. Akash, what have you made of those first 7 overs?
Good morning to everyone. Well, these 7 overs, according to the plan, because this is what you expect when you're playing in India. There is no lateral movement in the air or off the surface, and as we are talking now, Ravichandran Ashwin is getting ready to bowl his first over, which happens to be only the 8th over of this innings, of this test match, of the series. But this will define how India is going to now attack from here onwards. A lot of spin will be on display, and Ravichandran Ashwin, who's been the guy who's picked up most number of wickets with the new ball in India, he's our best new ball bowler, and he will be in operation now. But then nothing extraordinary. That grass that we were talking about on the surface, it was just there for decoration, and it hasn't really assisted fast bowlers at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ravichandran Ashwin is into the attack for his 75th Test match. 377 wickets at 25.5 is his record, and 254 of those wickets have come in home Test matches. 254 at 22.8. So he is going to be bowling to Rory Burns, setting the fields, and there's a slip, there's a short leg, short extra cover. Those are the close-ish men. He's going to bowl around the wicket first ball, and Burns inside edge, but it's controlled as it goes down to fine leg. It wasn't going to bring the short leg into play, but Ashwin immediately, he has hands into the air, hands onto his head. Burns goes to 8, England to 11 without loss. So you said, Goffrey, we were going to get plenty of spin, and there we are straight away.
Yeah, it's no surprise at all. Ashwin is a terrific bowler, got a terrific record all around the world, but especially in India. He's going to miss his spin friend, Jadeja, for the first 2 tests at least. Those 2 together are quite outstanding. So he's their main spinner. He's on early to Dom Sibley. We know people always talk about his weakness against spin. Well, he's going to be tested.
He's got a slip and a leg slip as well as the short leg. That one's short though, and Sibley's able to go back into the crease and guide it down towards third man, and it will run away for 4. Well, that's a nice sighter for Dom Sibley. Short, wide, and he was able to guide it away for runs. A boundary to England's total. They're 15 without loss.
Interesting. Good start from Dom Sibley. Just gave himself a little bit of room, a bit short from Ashwin. They just cut it away behind backward point. Quite easy. I played it really nicely, actually. I think one of the criticisms when England last beat India in India is that the Indian bowlers bowled it too slow.
Ashwin is in. That one is turned on the onside by Sibley between short leg and leg slip, and it evades both of them, and there is no run.
Because they said Swan and Monty Panesar bowled it quite at a good pace. But the Indian spinners just bowled it a touch too slow in the first few tests.
Let's have a look at the pace of Ashwin as he sends this one in. Sibley solidly forward. There is no run. Well, that one was 91 kilometres an hour, which is just shy of 60 miles an hour. So be interesting to see how quickly he settles in to work out what is the right pace for this pitch. Ashwin again is slightly short of length, and Sibley will turn this into the onside. Rohit Sharma will do the fielding at mid-wicket, and a single is taken. England 16 without loss.
Well, I think we might as well get our spin expert on, Gareth Bhatia. I mean, 60 miles an hour, do you say, Macca?
Just shy of that.
Yeah, just shy of 60 miles an hour. That's about the ideal speed, isn't it? Between 57 and 59.
I believe those are the numbers. 57 to 59, I think, is what they say the best international spinners operate at.
Final ball of the over from Ashwin, and it is turned into the leg side by Rory Burns. End of the 8th over here on TalkSport 2. England winning the toss and batting. Mark Nicholas is going to take over the commentary in just a moment as we get some more thoughts from Akash. Akash, what did you make of Ashwin's first over, and did you see much there that would interest you?
Yes, one ball that bounced and turned a little bit is something that will keep Ravichandran Ashwin and the other two spinners quite interested in the proceedings, because you would expect a lot of spin. This is not really a rank turner or a spin ready surface, but then someone like Ashwin will extract something from it for sure, and this will get even tougher for the English batsman, I dare say, because it is going to be an examination against spin of the quality of Ravichandran Ashwin for now an extended period of time.
Akash, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. I want to ask you about the Indian spin position, actually, and I know Akshar Patel pulled up injured, but there was talk of Kuldeep Yadav. We'll come back to that maybe at the end of this over. And it's going to be Ishant Sharma from his great height. The other surprise to me was the Indian seam attack not having any of the skidder bowlers, and indeed only one of the attack that had all that success in Brisbane is playing today. Here's Ishant. He runs in, tall, elegant, follows through quite a long way down the pitch as Dom Sibley reaches quite a long way forward for a stride against a quick bowler, which tells you there's no threatening bounce in the pitch, Goffey.
There's none at all, but you don't expect it when you go to India. It's not like playing at Lords where the ball's going to swing around, in swing and out swing. You might get the odd leg cutter and off cutter, but this is India. You expect it as a fast bowler to be difficult. One of the strengths you have to have when you go to places like this is a huge heart. Patience and a huge heart.
8 strips available out in the middle here at the Chitambram Stadium, and they're using one far right of the end from which Ishant Sharma bowls, now very full and straight. Dom Sibley blocks it and just goes a little low with his hands in the block. There are plenty of attacking batsmen who would have tried to hit that back past Ishant Sharma, but not Sibley. We know that he's bent on defence. He's a surprisingly big man, strong, physically strong and tall. And I think he got a lot from that unbeaten 50 in the run chase in the second test in Gaul.
Oh, he needed. He talked about being in a dark place with his batting. It's not easy. Like I say, you go in as an opening batsman, you're expecting the new ball, might swing around a little bit, but suddenly you've got a left-arm spinner at you on a turning pitch, and it's difficult. Had to graft and get through that opening half an hour, and he went in and cashed in, didn't he, in that second innings. It was a big knock for Dom Sibley. But what a change. I mean, from when he first came on the scene, I was lucky enough to work with England in New Zealand, and he wasn't as fit as he should have been.
Back goes Sibley on this occasion and drops it down on the offside, then makes that little half push that batsmen make, thinking there might have been a run, and quickly sends Burns back. What you don't want to do with that half push is go and commit your mate at the other end, but he didn't. It's safety. It's 16 for no wicket, 8 for Burns, 7 for Sibley.
And just talking on his fitness, I mean, really impressed by Dom Sibley and Zach Crowley, how hard they worked in New Zealand to try and get that opportunity with England. And the amount of weight he's lost and just changed his physique totally. And huge credit to Dom, realising he had to be fitted to play at the very highest level, and that's Test cricket.
It sure tells. He really, as I say, he looks a big, strong man and fit. Sharma again bangs it into the surface, and underneath it goes Sibley, seeing it early, ducking early, and it's taken by Rishabh Pant at waist height. It sort of looped into his midriff and was a comfortable take, and another example of the lack of threat. You still bowl the bouncer to remind the batsman you can, and to stop him committing in his footwork, but you know at your heart you're not likely to hurt him.
Yeah, and also as a fellow fast bowler, when you sat there on the end and you see the ball loop to the keeper, there's nothing to be afraid of. But saying that, sometimes on slow pitches, facing the short ball can be as hard.
We're in the heart of what was once known as Madras, now Chennai, of course, down in southern India. Very hot down here. Hotter food too, interestingly. The further south you go, the hotter sometimes the food can be, but also very elegant food down in India. It's one of the special things of the country, as a single comes whipped off the body off the final ball of the over. 17 for no wicket, 8 each for Burns and Sibley. And anything too straight to Dom Sibley, particularly with that grip, is a guaranteed knock into the leg side.
It looks like it's a definite tactic, doesn't it, from the seam bowlers of India to try and bowl as straight as they possibly can to Dom Sibley and Rory Burns. Try and get them out, hitting across the line. Might keep a little bit low. They've got this short mid-wicket in place, haven't they, Matt?
They have. We've got Akash in place too before they get a ball in. Akash, the spin situation. No Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel injured, so a last-minute change.
I'm honestly very shocked. Kuldeep had to play.
Yep, there's a block from, and there's a run too. There's a little bit of hesitation, but not enough to cause a problem. It rolled out square on the leg side. Burns smiles off his inside edge. He gets a run. Sibley makes it safely to the other end, and Akash can continue, because I'm with you, Akash. Kuldeep struck me as the mystery card, the ace card, potentially in this game.
Absolutely, and when you talk about England's batting capabilities or the history against wrist spinners, you know that they've had their fair share of problems. And Kuldeep Yadav, the last time when he played for India, that was in 2020, or rather the beginning of 2019, actually, not even 2020, in Sydney, where he took 6 wickets, and that was when the Indian coach Ravi Shastri actually announced it to the world that he is India's first choice overseas spinner. And surprise, surprise, the kid hasn't played a single test match since then. Home, away, he's not been given an opportunity. When Jadeja is there, you can still understand, but when he's not there and you're playing at home, you're playing as many as 3 spinners. If he can't find a place in the side, then it's a travesty of justice. He might he might as well not be a part of this test team if he can't find a place in the side with Shahbaz Nadeem and Washington Sundar playing, Akshar Patel not being available, and Kuldeep is still warming the bench. That actually baffles me completely, Mark.
The players are just taking a quick drink in this short break at 18 for no wicket. England won the toss and batted here on TalkSport 2, and it's safe and sound so far. And tell us a bit about Shahbaz Nadeem, because Akshar Patel got injured yesterday. Did he? Remember, Akshar was replacing Ravindra Jadeja. As we watch Ashwin back now to bowl a forward defensive, you're going to have to be quick between these Ravi Ashwin deliveries. No, he's going to wait till the end of the over. I think that's a better idea. So Ashwin, a tall man now, bowling just a bit too quick. He bowls too leg side there. Burns his back and works it into the space that'll earn him a couple, as Pujara does the chasing, the slide, and then lobs it back gently to Rishabh Pant, who moves no more than 2 metres forward to the ball to pick it up. It's then passed to Shubman Gill, this slim and very attractive batsman, played brilliantly in Australia, exciting young player, and will be partnering Rohit Sharma at the top of the order. Nice footwork, by the way, as I watch the TV replay from Rory Burns. Here's Ashwin again, wrapping his fingers around the ball, dip of the knees from Burns, who goes forward in very orthodox manner to block that out onto the offside.
It's great, isn't it, how the modern day cricketer don't really need to have many net sessions, they don't need to play many practice games, straight out there playing in a test match or a T20 or a T10.
And again, a block this time from a ball more middle and leggish actually, and he had to open his body up a little and still met the ball with the full face of the bat.
Yeah, you got Rory Burns coming to the side, straight in, opening batsman against India. You got Ollie Pope into the side.
And now he leaves one that bounces more than he might have thought, just outside off stump, the overspinner that hurries a bit. And when you get that much topspin on the ball, as Ashwin does, and delivers from such a great height, it will bounce more, particularly this harder, newer ball. The slip in place and a short leg, who's a tad behind square. Ashwin gets it straighter. Burns blocks, safely blocks. End of for the 10th over of the day. England, having won the toss, are batting first here on TalkSport 2. 20 for no wicket. Burns has 11. Sibley has 8. Akash, tell us then just a little about Shahbaz Nadeem, is he a direct left arm spin replacement really for Akshar Patel? Similar type of bowler? Do you know,
Test squad before Akshar Patel, because he was the one who actually replaced Jadeja for a test match against South Africa at Ranchi. So I was slightly surprised that Akshar has been picked ahead of him. Of course, Akshar has got good first class numbers, but Shahbaz has been extraordinary in first class cricket with regards to his wicket taking abilities, can bowl really long spells, has good variation in terms of speed, and once again is a workhorse.
Yeah, we saw him in the IPL, and I think Kohli will have been impressed with the way that Akshar Patel dealt with the pressure of the IPL. He had a very good tournament, didn't he?
Yes, but generally you don't go by what people have done in the IPL when you're picking your test squad.
No,
so,
true, but you might.
Shahbaz Nadeem?
You might, in terms of handling pressure, the big occasion. That's all I'm talking about, rather than the performances. Just can he cope? Does he have the temperament for high class cricket and performing under pressure?
He surely does.
Good man, thank you. 20 for no wicket then. In comes Jasprit Bumrah with unusual action, comes off a thick edge as Sibley, when he goes forward like that around off stump, does well not to push hard at the ball. He lets it come to him, and therefore it run off a thick outside edge. I think opening batsmen deserve a few off a thick edge, and he got a single for it, a little misfield at slip.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, with change of end for Bumrah, replacing Ishant Sharma. But when we talk about personnel in England, the way they want to play, I mean, it's quite obvious, isn't it, under Chris Silwood and Joe Root, but they want to try and bat first, as they've won the toss and they batted first, get big runs. It gives them a chance to win when you've got great bowlers in your side, like whether it be Broad, whether it be Anderson or Archer. It gives them half a chance, and in these conditions, that's what England have to do, and the personnel's important. Rory Burns, we know, has got the potential to bat long. Dom Sibley, he's been brought into the side to try and bat long and bat time. Zach Crawley, unfortunately, is injured this test. Another player that can bat time.
That's down the leg side and missed by Burns. All opening batsmen hate missing those balls that go across them with the angle. All they've got to do is get something on it, and they almost certainly run for 4. Anyway, 11 for Burns, 9 for Sibley. He marks his ground again. He has 27 on his back. Longer hair, as I mentioned at the start of play, that is coming out of the neck of his helmet. Shuffles, fidgets, waits, twirls, stands, taps the ground. Now nice and steady. Goes into this slightly forced position, the flex of the knees. He waits with a shut face. He goes forward and defends with an open face nicely. And they think of stealing a single and almost get into terrible trouble. Nadeem sprints in and had a shy. I don't know whether he would have caused any damage to Burns. He was out of his ground at first, but he spun when sent back by Sibley and made it. Good alert fielding that. Let's have another look at it on the replay. He wants a piece of it. Sibley doesn't. The throw comes. He throws himself into his ground to dirty his pads, and he'd have made it.
Yep, he'd have made it. Okay, Rory Burns, fit lad, quick lad as well. It's been good though. They're trying to rotate the strike, aren't they? They're looking for that quick signal. It's important to try and take the pressure off you, keep getting the odd single, because there's not going to be many boundaries. Looking at the pace of this pitch, it's going to be hard to hit the boundary ropes.
That, however, no, it will be cut off, will it? Yes! A left foot that Tottenham could have done with last night. So it's a couple, or 3 indeed, to Sibley, working it 2 straight. Bowl 2 straight to Sibley, he picks you off. It's what he bats for. He leaves you alone outside off stump to bore you, to make you bowl straighter, to pick you off, particularly when there's no seam movement. He's a master of it. England 25 for no wicket, and that's a good stop. There is a flick of that boundary foam with the other boot though, I think, Goffey.
It'll be interesting what they do on this one. I think he's just alright though, Mark. Nadeem again in the field. Has been busy the last couple of minutes, hasn't he, this over? Oh, he stood on the ball. He's lucky not to damage his ankle there, to be fair to him. He had a bit of a speed wobble going.
Yeah, that, I mean, on another day, I'm afraid you go over on your ankle there. That's just a misjudgment. The problem was getting his foot inside the ball and not to touch the boundary foam. And that's why he ended up getting too tight to it and treading on it. Anyway, I'm sure he's saved that extra run.
I tell you what, the bowlers might be a little bit happy there. Those spikes running across one side of that ball. There's not much sideways movement so far on this pitch. The spikes might just help the Indian bowlers there. Yeah, I think they're okay with that, Mark. It's a good stop in the end. Might have been with his spikes, but it's a good stop.
25 for no wicket as Bumrah now comes round the wicket to Rory Burns. Tries to bang one into the surface and does so, but again it comes off that surface slowly. It's left alone by Burns, who lines it up pretty well. He's, pretty fresh, Rory Burns. Hasn't had any cricket for a long time. The guys do a lot of physical work. They're all talking about feeling fitter and stronger than they have for a while. Sometimes in the treadmill of a lot of high-class cricket you don't get time to sort out. It might be little problems physically, but also problems technically that you need time. Look at the work Joe Root spent on his batting and his time away from the game. Chennai, a bustling city. I think of those tuk-tuks as Burns goes forward and blocks. Ball rolls out to gully, end of the over. There's no run. Akash is still with us. While I've got you, Akash, what about the atmosphere in India and in Chennai specifically? Obviously for us watching the big screens here in London, no crowds, and that's the case with all sports, so it feels a little unatmospheric relatively anyway from what it usually might be. But how's the atmosphere for cricket around India?
Electric. We've been waiting for it, Mark. It's been 380 days since international cricket was played on the Indian soil. We are expecting crowd from the second test match onwards, and that will just add to the environment and the excitement. I think this was much needed. After that India's fantastic tour down under, we needed a good series at home, and this is just the beginning of a very long season.
Yes, another long season. Not asked of the Indian players. Ashwin bowls, forward comes sort of exaggerated forward block of Dom Sibley, where he flexes his body down at the ball for the second time, and thou shalt not pass is his message. So this new hard ball being used by this fine Indian spinner. He bowls very straight with a high action, and this time Sibley knocks it leg side just to the right hand of short leg. Very happy bowling with the new ball. Likes getting that extra bounce from it. It won't spin as much. He bowls a line a little wider of off stump, more attacking line you might call it, particularly if the ball was spinning. And again Sibley is forward and pushes it out with a thick edge onto the offside. This one straight and work to short mid-wicket for no run. This is the sort of rhythm of play that you get in India when the pitch is flat at the start of the game and the batting side is building. If the bowling is tight, they bide their time. Wait for tiredness later in the day. Another example of it. Straight ball defended on the bounce into the hands of short leg. 5 balls of the over gone, all very similar in their way, all played ever so slightly differently by Dom Sibley. Taps the ground again. You maybe hear in the background the stump mic working well. This time he tries to shut the face and work a single, and that nearly costs him. He gets a thick edge out onto the offside. He does get a single from it. He retains the strike. The signal I think might be for drinks from the umpire. 26 for no wicket from 12 overs. England won the toss and Joe Root chose to bat first, and it's been a pretty intelligent start by this opening pair, Gareth Batty.
It certainly has. They've made India work hard. They've left the ball very nicely outside their eye line, which is basically the trademark for both the openers, one left-handed in Burns and the right-hander Sibley, making the bowlers work hard. No freebies where they're fending for the ball, nicking it to slip. They've waited for it to come in nice. They've picked off nicely. They've run between the wickets. They played very much as you would see them at any county ground, any international ground around the country in England on any given summer. Very interesting there that we saw with Ashwin coming into the game relatively early, which we know he would do. He's basically, when he's got the newer ball, he looks to bowl square seam, which generally is harder to make it go laterally, but he just canters the ball back in his hand, so it doesn't always hit the seam. It clips and it just skids into the pads, which, from a way that Rory Burns looks to play, he looks to get offside of the off spinner still and clip into the spin. So it's making it a little bit easier for him to line it up, as opposed to the overspin, where he's looking for the seam to point at slip and bounce and maybe leave his outside edge, where he has struggled a little bit in international cricket. The guys that have more flighted and pushed the ball away from him, as opposed to it coming in and spinning away traditionally. So I think that's actually working for Rory Burns at the minute.
That's I've got to ask you to explain to our listeners, for those who don't know, what square spin is, and when you describe the different kinds of spin. I know that there are lots of spinners listening who would know exactly what you're talking about, but there'll be some who have got no idea what that means.
The simplest way to do it is if you put your hand up flat on a window and you try to turn a doorknob, that's basically square spin, so the seam rotates and it goes down like a spiral, so it travels a bit further. And then overspin, you would almost show the side of your hand, so you're showing full palm and then showing the side, and almost it changes the seam position in your hand. And overspin, you get more curve and drop on the ball, so it happens more in the last 3 meters of delivery. It drops out of the air to try and deceive the batsman in its length, but then also it's hitting the seam going in towards leg slip, the position sort of going over the leg side, fine leg, whatever you want the outcome to be.
All of those options, where would you put Ravichandran Ashwin in the finger spinners that you have seen? Not necessarily that you've played against or faced, or but just across the board, for all the all-time finger spinners that you've seen in your lifetime, in your career. Where would Ashwin, would he be top 5?
Yeah, I mean, his incredible skill. His skill sets are quite remarkable. His numbers match that up. Yes, he gets to play on some turning pitches, but you still have to deliver. And the way that he changes and evolves as the ball is newer and older, as I say, at the minute he's not looking to do the outside edge as much because he doesn't feel there's that much purchase, so he's looking to challenge the stumps and the pad on the inside with the odd overspin, and he flips it around as the game goes on and the ball gets a bit softer. Then he would probably bowl less square and more overspin, trying to take the ball to slip to then hit the pad, so draw the batsman across the crease.
Stats guru, Jared?
Well, he's an incredible bowler with the new ball. He's been averaging 21 with the ball when it's from over 0 to 20 in Test cricket over the last 3 years. But I want to ask you something specific, Bat. He averages 27 against left-hand batsmen, which is very good.
Come back to that in a moment, because drinks have been taken, and it's Jasprit Bumrah back into the attack, and Dom Sibley nudges it nicely out towards mid-wicket, set off for a quick single. That could have been a little tight, because the ball wasn't picked up cleanly by Cheteshwar Pujara, but if it had been and he got the throw away, anyway, it was a single.
Pick your fielders, lads, pick your fielders.
Well, I don't think he has cartilage in either knee, does he? So if you're going to hit it to anyone and run, Pujara's probably your man. He averages 27 against left-handed batsmen, but over the last couple of years he averages 18 against right-handed batsmen. So I wondered if there's a reason why you think, from watching him bowl, why he might be so successful against right-handers. I should just point out, Rory Burns has a terrible record against off-spinners. Roston Chase has him 5 times in 93 balls.
You're counting Roston Chase as an off-spinner then?
He got him 5 times in 93 balls.
Very modest off-spinner. Batting spinner. England 27 without loss in the 13th over. Rory Burns on 12, Dom Sibley on 14, and it's Bumrah in once again, and pushed away by Burns up towards mid-off, and there's no run.
I think part of those stats would be there are probably more right-handed international batsmen around the world than left-handed, so he has more opportunity. But I would suggest that early on he's trying to drag the right-handers across the crease, so he's getting more caught leg slip, short leg, because of that, because of this square seam that I'm talking about. He drifts it to challenge the outside edge, and the obvious thing that people say is, well, get across onto off stump. Well, he wants you to do that because your pads are in front of the stumps, and he has the ability and the skill to bring in that sort of leg side field.
Here's Bumrah once again stuttering, and then into his run up, which is only about 4 paces by the time he's actually running, and that one is again outside the off stump, and it's left alone. We should just point out the obvious, that off spinners traditionally are supposed to be more successful against left-handers, not right-handers.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I know Graham Swan had some incredible stats against left-handers for a 2 or 3 year period, to the extent that I think Straussy threw him the ball after like 2 or 3 overs at Lords to the West Indies, got 2 wickets, then didn't bowl for like 40 overs because he just had left-handers on toast when DRS first came in. He was a wonderful bowler, but there's definitely the ball spinning away is more of an advantage than spinning in at times.
Bumrah in again, and that's very full, and Burns squeezes it away through square point. And it's chased by Shahbaz Nadeem, who, in his efforts to throw the ball in quickly, threw himself off his feet, trying to catch the batsman out, going for a second. Burns 13, Sibley 14. Just squeezing it off the outside half of the bat. And England move up to 28 without loss into the 13th over. Winning the toss, batting first. No Zach Crawley today. England fans will be aware of that, but we're aware that people are tuning in all the time as you wake up on this fresh Friday morning. I'll give you the England team in just a moment as Jasprit Bumrah once again walks, then stutters, then finally gets into his 4-pace run-up, and forward he comes. Sibley pushing that away defensively up on the offside, and there's no run. So Burns and Sibley, Dan Lawrence at number 3 in place of the injured Zach Crawley, and Joe Root, Ben Stokes, Ollie Pope at 6, Jos Buttler, Dom Best, Jofra Archer, Jack Leach and James Anderson. So no Stuart Broad and no Moeen Ali. Probably the most significant omissions. The Broad-Anderson rotation policy continues for England. Only one at a time, thanks, gents. 2 of the best seam bowlers of all time. Can't have them together. Here's Bumrah once again, and that's pushed by Sibley up towards mid-on, and they go through for a single, picked up by Ashwin, has a shot at the stumps, so they made their run pretty comfortably. You may have detected an element of cynicism in my voice there, and I should say that it makes perfect sense, logical sense, at the advanced stage of their career, but I just thought, given their form, I'd make an exception.
I think it's trying to extend their careers, isn't it, more than anything? They're trying to get these guys, they both want to keep playing. It's trying to extend it, manage their workloads, and almost integrate the next generation in whilst they're still playing. So the new guys are learning off the greats. When they finish playing, they will be seen as the great fast bowlers England have produced. So having them around for an extended period, both on and off the field, is absolute gold dust for Chris Silverwood. And I would imagine that is the master plan behind it.
Just on the spin before, so yeah, in the last 3 years of Test cricket, off-spinners averaged 38 against right-hand batsmen and 25 against left-hand batsmen. So spinning the ball away is a 13-run advantage for off-spinners there. Graham Swan averaged 37 in his career against right-handers and 21 against left-handers.
Ashwin back into the attack, pushed away by Sibley to mid-wicket, no run.
So Swanee's difference was 16, and I think Jack Leach is about the same. Actually, I think it's even worse going in the other direction. So his record against right-handers is incredible, and he struggles against left-handers.
Here's Ashwin up to the crease now, bowls half volley, leg stump. Sibley with the flick of the wrists nudges it away through square leg, and that's racing out towards the boundary. There is a man chasing it, but Rohit Sharma's not going to get there. He does get there, but the ball beats him into the boundary triangles, and that's 4 very nice runs from Dom Sibley. He didn't hit that at all. He really just flicked it away. Lovely, lovely piece of timing.
It's kind of, if you have an onion, if you have a favoured spot, this is it for Dom Sibley. It's full, it's earing in towards his pads, it's pitched about middle stump, and literally all he's got to do is find the gap at this point. He's just leant on it. He's a very tall man. He's about 6'3", 6'4". With those levers, with that energy going through the ball, just lean on it. Boom, and it's off it goes. The outfield, just quietly, looks like a bowling green. It looks absolutely beautiful.
It does. And you know what? I said he flicked it. He didn't. It was a push. It wasn't even a flick. It literally was just, he just pushed it. There was no energy imparted into the stroke at all. It was just beautiful timing. And a very good bat manufacturer. 33 without loss. Ashwin forces Sibley onto the back foot. He'll be aware of that. He knows what Ashwin's trying to do. He knows that he wants him perhaps to be playing off the back foot.
Yeah, it's a lovely cat and mouse sort of situation. Sibley wants to get forward.
and Ashwin wants him on the back foot, and Sibley now then just playing from the crease, nudges it out on the onside. Sibley 19, Burns 13.
Basic physics, if you're 6'4", get down the pitch and try and take the LB out of it.
Another leg side delivery. Actually, no, middle stump delivery, but Sibley makes it look like it's a leg side delivery. He knows his game. Ashwin knows his game as well, and I mean Ashwin knows Sibley's game. And it's a lovely process of setting up the batsman. Ashwin in once again. Sibley comes forward and pushes it out on the onside, and once more there is no run. The over comes to an end. England 33 without loss, winning the toss and batting. 14 overs gone. Very good start.
Yeah, it's a great start. And just for the listeners, the field that Ashwin there is bowling to at the end of the over for Sibley has got a slip and a leg slip. Lots of you will be thinking, well, why has he not got a short leg with a new ball and the extra bounce? I actually think it's because he's trying to use the angles that he can use of the seam. So he's looking to bowl square seam and just take it out towards the slip, and then the overspin, you sometimes get a little bit of that topspin makes the ball drift in. So with Sibley trying to get across onto off stump and take out slip, it actually brings in leg slip, so the ball goes finer off the face of the bat with that overspin, as opposed to the bounce and the traditional way of pushing forward and bringing short-legged. So it's very much a plan that it's tried and tested, hence what Gerard was talking about, that this guy is one of the best ever, and he's brilliant against the right-handers as well as the left-handers.
Right, it's Jasprit Bumrah to continue from the Anna Pavilion end, and he's round the wicket to Burns, and he pushes that to short mid-wicket. They've got a short mid-wicket in now, India. They've taken out one of the close catches from behind the wicket and put him in front of square, because there really isn't any seam deviation whatsoever. There was talk about the ball having been redesigned and revamped, the SG ball, and having a more pronounced seam, but my goodness me, it looks as flat as any of the old ones so far.
Yeah, Steve couldn't look happier there, thinking, I'm glad I'm not donning the whites for this one.
As always with, well, not always, but as often in the subcontinent, test matches move very slowly for the first 2 or 3 days, and then very quickly. Bumrah in once again, nudged out on the onside. Jared, I was supposed to come to you a couple of balls ago. I'm so sorry. We're a little bit more distanced in this commentary box than normal. But what was the point you were going to make? Do you remember? Or have you lost it?
About Ashwin?
Yeah.
Well, basically that he's inverted. I mean, he is almost average against left-handers and 20 runs better than the average off-spinner against right-handers. So he's holding his own against left-handers, which is a great record, and then absolutely incredible when it comes to left-handers. To right-handers, which is, unlike most off-spinners, you're more average guys, like, your batties, those sorts of guys.
I'm taking average.
Burns pushes it square of the wicket on the offside as Jasprit Bumrah continues from the Anna Pavilion end.
I mean, as a general rule, batsmen like the ball spinning into them and not away from them. So, for instance, Sibley struggles a little bit with left arm finger spin because it spins away from him. But I don't think he's ever been dismissed by an off spinner in a Test match, and that's quite a standard thing. I mean, Bats has probably had a career of trying to, finagle right-handers out and then just run through the left-handers on day 4 at the Oval.
You lost me at finagle. I don't have a clue what you're talking about now.
Here's Bumrah. Yeah, you two at each other already. First morning of the first test. Turned away nicely off his pads behind square on the leg side by Rory Burns. I must say, for a man who hasn't played any serious cricket since August, Rory Burns, well, he did tell us, he said that he was raring to go, and it felt, I mean, often a break is as good as 20-hour practice.
Yeah, and look, the bits he maybe has missed out is that he's been training his socks off back at the Oval. The fitness now that the guys do, you train like an Olympian, so that the wear and tear on your body, you can forget about that. He's up and ready, he's up to speed physically, and he's had lots and lots of batting and working on a few little things. You don't often get that in a career, that opportunity to take some time out to work on the finer points of your technique, which is used so far to great effect.
England 34 without loss, winning the toss and batting first, and Bumrah's into Sibley, and he walks over to the off stump and tucks it away. How many times will we say He tucks it away when Dom Sibley is batting. Who do you reckon last had a haircut, Rory Burns or you?
Oh, tough question. I had all intention of getting it done just before Christmas, and then we got locked down again. And I'd been a good 4 months at that point. No, I reckon Burnsy's got a terrible lid at the minute. Terrible. He wears an Alice band. I mean, for goodness sake, you won't see me with one of those.
But you have to wear a hat just to keep yours under control.
Yeah, they're all freebies though. I don't pay for them.
35 without loss, England. Burns 14, Dom Sibley has 20 from 53 balls. And it's a very, very good start from England. Joe Root winning the toss. The start of his 100th Test match. Becomes the 69th player to play 100 Test matches, the 15th Englishman. That's a Yorker attempted by Jasprit Bumrah. It's a low full toss in the end. Burns pushes it wide of Ashwin at mid-on and again trots through for a comfortable single.
I put a note down, I don't know if you guys agree, and Steve's going to look at me with that look that puts the fear of God into me in just a second. About the 6th over, I wrote down on my pad, is the lacquer coming off the ball, like we see in England sometimes with the Dukes ball. It doesn't swing massively the first 3 or 4 overs, then all of a sudden it starts hooping. And I just saw a couple of balls, it was Sharma bowling at the time, where I thought, oh, just going a little bit. Has this ball from Bumrah just started to shape, or is that just me being the eternal optimist?
I don't think it's conventional, son. There's chunks of the ball out on one side, so I think it might actually be early reverse.
Here is Jasprit Bumrah continuing. Oh, it's a good one. It's gone past the outside edge. I think. I didn't see any movement. If that is the case, then the ball may well have been damaged when Shahbaz Nadeem stood on it when he was trying to field it.
Yeah, I did think that myself. I mean, just having a look, they showed one super slow-mo and one side of the ball did look like someone had taken a chisel to one side of it. That could definitely happen from spikes, but it also, could just be something to do with the pitch as well. But it certainly looks like they've worked on one side of the ball very well early on. We haven't seen a lot of reverse, but a couple of those balls just look like they were fading away.
Yeah, I'm not getting carried away. I'm not saying it's hooping around. Just a little bit off the straight is more my observation.
I agree. It's not going gun barrel straight like it was in the first half an hour.
Yeah, Harmy's just showing me his wrist position. He's just saying the odd one is just fading sort of with the hand in towards Sibley and away from Burns, which is a bit more reverse time.
Here's Ashwin to Burns. Forward he comes, pushing defensively out on the onside, and there's no run. I had Sky Television on yesterday while I was preparing for this Test match, and they were showing highlights of Harmy's 7 for 12. Pushed up towards mid-on, and they set off for a single. It's a very, very good piece of fielding from Shahbaz Nadeem, actually. He picked up at mid-on and shied at the stumps at the non-striker's end and hit them, but they were comfortably home. It gets better. Every time you see the 7 for 12, it gets better.
What about the umbrella field behind the wicket? Not a bloke in front of square.
Yeah,
the big fella tearing in. Carib corner going
7
mental.
slips and a gully.
It was unbelievable.
It was fantastic. You forget that actually he had 5 for 12. And you think, oh, he better not concede a run. He might not get 7 for 12 again. Here's Ashwin once more. Sibley comes forward and pushes it up on the onside. No run.
I tell you, I forget because we got an afternoon off there and I was drinks boy around the pool, so that day was a bit of a write-off. From the morning was magnificent. The rest of the day I don't remember.
Harmy's just reminded me that those 12 runs were 3 shots. Forward comes Sibley again, pushes it behind square on the leg side, and there's no run. So 12 overs, 8 maidens, 7 for 12, and 3 scoring shots. Were they proper shots, Harmy? I can't remember. Were they off the middle or were they all edges? Ashwin in once again, pushed out in the offside, and there's no run. 2 edges, 1 off the middle, 1 straight drive. He remembers every ball, and why wouldn't you? There's no spin, I've noticed, for Ashwin, but maybe a little bit movement through the air for the seamers. As Sibley again nudges it, tucks it off his pads out towards short leg. And it's fielded by Shubman Gill under the helmet, and there's no run. 16 overs gone. Terrific start by England, winning the toss, batting first, 38 without loss. Another word from Gareth Batty, and then it'll be Andrew McKenna for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, England making great progress here. It doesn't look like they're putting a massive dent in the scoreboard, but they're putting the overs on the board, they're playing nicely. keeping India feeling like they're not even looking like producing a chance of taking a wicket. At the minute, so far so good. Keep Ashwin coming. He will then come to the England batsman. He will try and get them out. He sees himself as a wicket taker, a strike bowler. Make him come to them even more. Then the scoring opportunities will start coming more and more for England. It's been a really, really good first hour.
And as a result, Shahbaz Nadeem is into the bowling attack. So a second change for the slow left armer to come into the attack. It is his second test match. It feels like he's been about the only fielder that India have had this morning. He's just about everything, but he's now into the bowling attack. His only previous test before this, as we mentioned earlier on, was back in October of 2019 when India played South Africa at Ranchi. But he's replacing Bumrah now, and left arm over the wicket. He's into Rory Burns, who turns into the onside. Shubman Gill fields under the helmet at short leg, and there's no run. So a slip, leg slip and short leg in place for Shahbaz. He took 4 wickets in that test match against South Africa a couple of years ago, and he's in. Rory Burns down onto one knee and slog sweeps into the leg side. There is a fielder out there who should cut it off, and indeed does so, although in danger of getting a little bit caught up with the boundary rope, and England will come back for 3, although umpire Chowdhury just wants to check that there is no problem. It is 41 without loss.
Yeah, lovely positive start there from Burns, putting the young man under some pressure. Left arm spinner, we've been talking about the ball spinning in, it can be a bit easier. Getting down, getting his head balanced, his eyes level for a lovely sweep shot. Good bit of fielding on the boundary, stopped the 4, but a nice 3 for Burns into his account. Moved on to 19.
Sorry, Gareth. Washington Sundar, the man doing the fielding, taking over for Nadeem as the boundary rider. So Burns goes to 19. Sibley's got 1 more. He's got 20, and around the wicket is Nadeem, and it's the inside edge of Sibley's bat onto his front pad and just trickles out on the leg side. Interesting, Nadeem is straight around the wicket in the way that, of course, happened for Sibley, or rather didn't happen for Sibley in Sri Lanka for large portions of the 2 tests in Gaul. This time slightly shorter, punching off of the back foot, well fielded in the covers by Rohit Sharma. There is no run.
Yeah, interesting here from Nadeem. From over the wicket, it looks as though he's an in-to-win bowler, so it looks like he's going to find it hard to challenge the outside edge. But around the wicket, he's got that lovely traditional shape.
He is around the wicket. Sibley is forward, just dropping it out in front of him, and taps it to the Silly Point fielder as there's no run.
So the traditional shape I'm talking about is drift into the right-hander to then spin out. And he looks like a traditional left-arm spinner. Not in the same mould as Jadeja, a little bit more flighty.
He's got through the over quickly. This is the final ball. That is short. It's wide. And Sibley hammers this through backward point. And that will run away for 4. That is England's 3rd boundary of the innings. Dom Sibley has all of them. He's gone to 24 from 62 balls. Rory Burns has 19. And England, having won the toss and batted first over an hour ago now, are still with a 0 next to their score. That is the wickets column. That's the all-important one. They're looking really good at the moment, with it 45 without loss after 17 overs here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Gareth Batty.
Yeah, almost a perfect start from England so far. 45 for none, as you say, Macca. What a shot there from Dom Sibley. He's looking to get forward, picks up the length quickly, rocks back and squirts it through that sort of point region off the back foot, putting the left arm spinner under some serious pressure early on. That's what you want to do as a batsman, make him work hard, don't make it easy for him to settle in.
Ashwin to start the new over. Burns forward as Ashwin comes around the wicket, and Burns on off stump is just pushing back down the pitch, no run. And now the ante just gets turned up a little bit. Spin at both ends. As an opener, as an English opener, you're used to the scene. They've got spin at both ends now in the 18th over. Burns forward, pushing straight back down the pitch, and there's no run. Ashwin bowling to a slip and a short leg. Not really seen any huge turn, not that you would expect to this early in a test match. Ashwin around the wicket, Burns staying deep. It's a back cut. He's got it past Bumrah at point, and he's going to go down towards the third man boundary and will flick it back in field. Not the neatest bit of fielding. Ajinkya Rahane was the man who got in support, and Bumrah actually managed to flick it past him. And the ball has run away and goes for 3 as Rory Burns just continues on, and he looks in good touch, Gareth.
Yeah, but I'm sure Bumrah's bowling coach was watching him dive for this. The double knee slide facing forward, he would have been thinking, blooming heck, don't get your knee stuck in the ground with this one.
Well, the only good news for it, as you mentioned earlier, the outfield is a bowling green. You can think of an awful lot of outfields in India. You wouldn't have even contemplated that previously. But it is lush, verdant green under the Chennai sunshine. Ashwin over the wicket now to Sibley, turns into the onside. Shubman Gill fields on the bounce, and there's no run. Of course, the second test match, same venue, same stadium, just a couple of pitches over, so there won't be much time to work on the pitch between matches. Ashwin in, Sibley's turning this into the leg side, and again no run.
Slight field change here for Ashwin from the previous over. He's got his leg slip now to short leg, so he's attacking Sibley a little bit more towards the off and middle stump, as opposed to being a fraction straighter than that possibly the previous over.
Straight again, and that one seemed to hurry through a little bit. Just shy of 90 kilometres an hour, but it's Sibley turning it out on the onside for no run, and the 18th over is complete. England 48 without loss. It is TalkSport and TalkSport 2 every ball of this series, as England are in India, exclusively live on TalkSport 2. We'll bring you some of the action on TalkSport as well, and during the course of the next few weeks you'll be hearing, of course, from our analyst, who is Jared Kimber.
Thanks, Maka. Bats, I got another one for you on spin. Dom Sibley, in Asia so far, he's faced 96 balls from left-arm finger spins, and he's been dismissed 3 times, averaging 13. Is that because he's a leg-side dominant player and he's playing across the ball, or is there something specific about his technique?
Yeah, a bit of both almost, I would suggest. He does play around his front pad a little bit, and I think if you're an off-spinner, if you can get around the wicket to him and straighten the ball on him, I think is an LB chance as well. But it's because the baddie's coming down from maybe a second slip angle and sometimes coming across the ball. So the ball we just saw there, the last ball of the over, Ashwin bowling that square spin that undercuts a little bit and skids on. It's targeting middle stump and travels a bit further. At times he has played across that ball. This innings, and certainly the last innings in Sri Lanka, his bat was coming down straighter to then manipulate the ball leg side.
Nadeem starts the new over with a left arm over the delivery that's going down the leg side to the left-handed Burns. He sort of helps it on its way down to fine leg and takes a single, and England at 49 without loss.
There's no doubt that he's a player that does a lot of improvement, like whether it's his body or his technique. He's always changing things. So when he first came in and we were, I looked at him, he had a huge weakness against left-arm finger spin. Watching him play in Sri Lanka, it looks like he has tried to straighten that a lot. That's a very hard thing to do, isn't it? If your normal backlift is going out towards slip, to change that and be straighter.
Nadeem is coming in, left arm around, Sibley's pushing forward. There are 2 men straight on the drive, a very straight mid-off and a very straight extra cover, and Sibley's just pushing this one, opening in the face, going slightly squarer, and there's no run on this occasion. Sibley allows the next one from Nadeem to actually turn and bounce a little bit. It's well outside of off stump. No real danger to Sibley on that occasion, but it'll just plant a little seed in his mind.
Yeah, encouraging signs. That's always nice to see. Just a little bit of spin on offer.
Starts this one straighter, does Nadeem, and Sibley will turn to the onside. Shubman Gill isn't under the helmet at short leg for that one, so it's safe enough to try and turn it away. He can't get it into a position where he can take a single, so England remain 1 short of a 50 partnership. All the issues that they had in Sri Lanka early doors, well, here they are in India, and it's going well. Sibley is off the back foot, punching to point, and fielded by Washington Sundar, and there is no run. It's positive from Sibley, though. That's the one thing you can say. His movements have been positive, his shots have been positive, even when he's defending. And who would have thought that India would be bowling spin at this stage with only one slip in place. There's no other men around the bat. They're on the drive as Sibley comes forward, covers up to the final ball of the over. 19 gone here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. England 49 without loss.
Yeah, I think, Gerard, just going back to your point about Dominic Sibley, England have been brilliant about getting the marquee up at Loughborough. They've had turning pitches, they've had lots of young spinners up there, and he's been working on certainly getting that bat path and his hips straighter aligned. If your if your right hip is turning towards the extra cover and coming out the wrong way, you actually bring your bat down from, say, point or second slip, third slip, so you come across the ball more. The one thing that was evident about Joe Root in Sri Lanka, he stayed side on beautifully well. His bat came down, and that's why Harmy said, he's arguably one of the best players of spin in the world, and that's what he's been trying to work on. Hold that right hip back and have a straighter bat face.
Ashwin will start his 7th over, and he's coming around the wicket to Rory Burns, 23 to his name. So 11 o'clock in the morning in Chennai, 5:30 in the UK, people waking up all the time. England are going well. Burns is coming down the pitch, turning Ashwin into the onside. Can't beat the man at mid-wicket, and they remain 49 without loss after winning the toss and batting. And Darren Gough and Steve Harmison joining me on the commentary.
Yeah, confidence there from Rory Burns, using his feet to Ashwin.
Ashwin around the wicket. Burns staying home on this occasion, but turns past the square leg umpire. They'll take one. They have a look at 2 and decide to come back for 2. And that will be 50 for England. A 50 opening partnership, 51 without loss. They're halfway through the 20th over. Burns has 25, Sibley 24, and everything that England would have wanted and Joe Root would have wanted since winning the toss, Steve Harmison, he's got.
Yeah, Joe Root's gone to bed last night and he's dreamt that England, first he'd win the toss, second England were going to have to have a good start, and boy, his dreams have come true, because this is a fantastic start by England.
It is. Ashwin around the wicket, Burns pushing back down the pitch, no run.
You were worrying, Macca, about us having extra time, weren't you? Ashwin getting through these overs. You ain't got a chance to talk before he falls ball.
That might not be a bad thing for me and you, Dad.
He gets through an over in about 55 seconds. Saying that as we as
so
we
does
talk
Nadeem
here.
mind.
Yeah, the captain's having a little chat with him, trying to change something in the field. England going along nicely, 51 for none. Virat Kohli, the captain, back captain in the side after his deputy Rehan took charge in Australia.
How impressed are you being by Sibley, Darren? The ability to leave the ball, and then between the two of them as well, rotation of strike, left and right hand combination, putting pressure back on the bowlers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was important, but England went for left-right partnership as well.
Ashwin around the wicket to Burns. There's Virat Kohli stationed at short mid-off. Burns just pushes out square into the covers for no run.
Yeah, I think these two probably the best opening partnership. Rory Burns, I know he chose to have Sri Lanka off, but he would have been given some time off at some point.
Push down the pitch to Kohli, and that completes the over. 7 bowled by Ashwin. He's got 0 for 19. England after 20 overs here on TalkSport 2. 51 without loss after 20 overs. Looks like Chris Woakes is coming out onto the pitch with some fresh gloves and a drink, which just gives me a chance that, as it is coming up 25 to 6. Obviously, the sports breakfast on TalkSport will be underway at 6 o'clock. So if you're with us on TalkSport or DAB maybe, and from 6 o'clock, you'll need to go over to TalkSport 2. So either fire up your DAB radio or, of course, download the app. You can get all of the information there, and all you have to do once you've downloaded the app is select TalkSport 2 and swipe left to listen. That way you won't miss a ball. Every ball of the series will be live on TalkSport 2, but of course we're with you at certain times on TalkSport as well. So have both options fired up, the app or the DAB, and select whichever one you want at the time. But England have made a cracking start this morning.
Absolutely, Mac. A great start by Burns and Sibley. 25 for Burns off 52. Sibley 24 off 70. And the difference, the 18 ball difference between Sibley and Burns, a lot of it was down the way India bowled at Sibley in the first up, and I think that's where they missed the trick. Inshant Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah bowled far too wide to him and give him the chance to get to find out where his off stump is.
Nadeem to bowl his 3rd over. He's bowling left arm around, and Sibley has got a huge stride in there. Covers it up, smothers it down the pitch, and there's no chance of anything happening there.
They're stretching a little bit for it though, Macca, and I think that's been one of the criticisms against left arm spin.
Well, they say right forward or right back, and he was right forward then. This occasion he's back and into his crease, punching. Fielded at mid-on, there's no run.
Yeah, Army made a good point there. I think when you bowl into Dom Sibley, I think you've got to look to him, nip him back onto off stump with the new ball. He sometimes hits across it, brings LBW into play.
Sibley pushing into the offside. There's two men stationed close, Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli, as a short cover and a short mid-off, but he pushes out towards square cover and there's no run.
I also think as well, Darren, in this compared to Sri Lanka, yeah, it's a little bit slower spin. It's a good wicket this for him to get in and bat on.
Nadeem in. That one seems to hurry through a little bit on Sibley. He's in position, pushes back down the pitch to the bowler.
So the confidence of getting right forward, knowing that the true bounce and you can smother it, where in Sri Lanka he couldn't really get to that, and I think that's where the indecision really got Dom Sibley caught out, and Zach Crawley as well.
Nadeem bowls. Sibley plays from the crease, turning it onto the onside, but there's nothing there for him. He remains 24 not out. Burns 25 not out. England 51 without loss. Plenty of chatter from the Indian fielders as Nadeem comes in. Bowles starts that one too straight. That's leg stumpish and maybe even outside of leg stump. Sibley will turn it into the leg side, take a single. He will go to 25 to complete the over. 52 without loss here on TalkSport 2. Both batsmen for England, Burns and Sibley, 25 apiece.
And that's a good example of the last ball of the last over there, Macca, when the ball is from a left arm round a wicket, just angling in towards Dom Sibley, going to turn away. That one there pitched sort of round about middle in leg, more towards leg stump. And because his head's in a good position, his balance is good, and he isn't too far forward, isn't sort of too far back, he can just lean on the ball into square leg and rotate the striking off stump, and that confidence booster as a batsman to know all the ducks are in a row is huge, especially in the subcontinent.
Sibley waits as Ashwin starts a new over, turning it on the onside to the fielder at shortish mid-wicket, and there's no run.
And it's the type of shot you can play in the first innings when you're in India, and probably not the second innings.
Ashwin outside the leg stump, and Sibley has flicked it into the leg side, and there is a man stationed at short fine leg, and that is only just wide of him. All eyes go to Shubman Gill. That was a little bit near the stickers. It was slightly higher up the bat, turned on the onside. Short leg, in fairness, didn't have a price of catching that. He is backward of short leg, but the next ball from Sibley is pushed into the offside and will take a single. Well, Rory Burns' half chance, we'll call it a half chance, early doors off of Bumrah, a feather down the leg side. That one was a little bit in the air.
Yeah, and Virat Kohli's got his hands in the air, as Ashwin has. I think Shubman Gill was a little bit too straight. I think Ashwin was wanting to move him a little bit square, and that would have gone straight to hands. But the next ball was perfect for Dom Sibley's for confidence, because the next ball was outside off stump. He's just dropped his bat, he's rotated the strike, he's now got down the other end. This is ideal for England.
Left-handed Burns. That's been pulled down a little bit shorter by Ashwin. It's played on one knee by Burns, helps it round the corner to very fine leg, and Rory Burns has a boundary for his first of his innings. He goes to 29, England 57 without loss here on TalkSport.
Yeah, clever play here from England. Ashwin around the wicket to the left-handed Burns, probably on the stumps, drifting onto leg stump. Nice little tickle round the corner, sweep shot, and his first boundary. And it's really clever batting from this, not letting India put any pressure on them whatsoever, rotating the strike and the odd boundary.
Ashwin, a bit of loop on that one. Burns is pushing back down the pitch to the bowler, and there's no run. 20 minutes left of the session. 22 overs after this have been bowled. This one is turned into the onside by Burns. Can't beat the fielder at mid-wicket. And that is 22 overs gone. England 57 without loss. If you are just joining us, the alarm has gone off at 5:30-ish. England won the toss and elected to bat. And it was a team that I think we just about anticipated and expected. Burns back at the top of the order. Dan Lawrence down to come in at 3. with Ollie Pope in at 6. James Anderson getting the nod over Stuart Broad in terms of the seam position. Moeen Ali, well, could they get him into the side? Well, they haven't been able to in the end. But they're all watching Burns and Sibley at the moment. Nadeem will start the new over. Sibley's turning this on the leg side, and there's no run.
Saying that, they get 600 runs on the board. If they were to, they'd be wishing they hadn't Moeen Ali on the side. But yeah, I think it's the right team to pick. I think they've made a good selection this Test match.
Sibley turning to short, fine leg, no run. Well, this is the perfect start, but of course perfect starts only equate when you actually go on and get big runs that Darren Gough is talking about. Nadeem is in, Sibley pushing this one to mid-on, and Ishant Sharma will do the fielding. No run on this occasion. India have given 4 bowlers a go so far. Ishant Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, Ashwin and Shabazz. None of them have been able to breach the English defences so far. Nadeem, left arm around the wicket. Sibley just opening the face, trying to guide it towards point. He's looking to rotate the strike, turn it over, but he can't beat the fielder and there's no run.
That's definitely been a discussion, hasn't it, between these two batsmen in the team meetings. Make sure we rotate the strike. Don't let them put any pressure on us whatsoever.
Straight to one from Nadeem. Sibley's pushing down the pitch and there's no run.
Seems as though there's been a conscious effort, Goffey, that it's looking as though let's be busy, let's try and be as busy as we can, and that'll help our footwork against the spin. Can we? Light on our feet, see if we can drop it into little gaps and then get on our toes and go. That'll help us not only with confidence but also in our decision making.
Silly point for Sibley. He pushes into the offside, beats Shubman Gill, the man under the helmet, and doesn't get a run for it. Over completed. 57 without loss here on TalkSport 2 R England. Darren Gough and Steve Harmison are still with us. In fact, no, it's not the end of the over, because this is now the issue when the third umpire calls the no ball. It seems to happen in about 15 seconds after the event. So it was actually a no ball. Nadeem, the left arm spinner, bowling a no ball. Cue endless spinners should never bowl no ball comments, but he has overstepped, and by a decent chunk as well. So he's got one more delivery to send down. He's conceded 10 runs now. Sibley does just push out to Shubman Gill under the helmet. Harmy and Goffey will continue. Mark Nicholas will pick up the commentary.
Yeah, it's been clever from England. Some urgency at the crease, lots of energy. Excited to be out there, and should be. Test cricket is back, and it's a great series to go to India and try and compete with India on home soil. Was always going to be a difficult task, but they're going into it, Army, full of confidence. Joe Root, loads of runs in Sri Lanka. Sibley getting runs in that second innings were vital for him in Sri Lanka as well, and they got off to a good start here.
The habit of winning, Darren, is huge in any sport, but especially when you're going in areas like surfaces that you're not used to. You know, the ability to win from any sort of situation, the ability to overcome adversity sometimes and find a way to win is what England have been good at in the recent times. And I think Gary, our statsman, just said that's the first 50-run partnership by an opposition since 2017. So it tells you how good India are at home at taking early wickets. So, England boys are getting off to a fantastic start.
Forward goes Sibley, and a defensive stroke, as I mentioned earlier, thou shalt not pass is his message. End of that over. 58 for no wicket from 23, and this pair looking sound. I heard Andrew McKenna say it's the perfect start, and I know what he means. That you get through the first session without losing a wicket in India, having won the toss. No doubt the surface will spin. The truth is, it's done nothing. I mean, really nothing. When it has turned, it's turned exactly as you would expect it to, slowly and without any awkward bounce. Burns has 29, Sibley 26. R. Ashwin now to bowl to Burns, who dances down the pitch and drives in through wide mid-on with some elegance, you have to say. 4 more to the total.
Confidence has is coming through there on these England batsmen. You can see it. Rory Burns again, he likes to use his feet against the spin. Against Ashwin, who can vary his pace really well. He gets a bit of bounce. It's brave to do it, but it's the right shot. Lovely, right to the pitch of the ball, just lent into it. Good timing with this harder ball they're using in this Test series. Oh, and it just flies away through wide mid-on for another 4 to England.
Lovely looking outfield, a very bright, not dark, a bright sort of emerald colour you'd call it, and patchy in areas, but generally it looks as if a well-struck ball will find its way to the boundary. Sometimes in India you can get slower outfields that have been watered too much. It's always a surprise, that, and then you get the bumpy dry ones as well, of course. Pitch itself looks very dry, classic sort of Weetabix look to it would be the best way to describe it, without much sideways movement, as I've just mentioned, and certainly no swing. But you know, you're not really talking swing bowlers, are you, with Jasprit Bumrah and Ishant Sharma? I'm surprised they didn't play Mohammad Siraj, I should say, who bowled so well, or one of the skidders anyway, one of the fuller pitching bowlers who might swing the ball, but they didn't. Ashwin again over the wicket this time to Burns, who waits quite late to play that ball, and with his soft hands it runs off the blade down to his toes and back towards the wicket-keeper Rishabh Pant, who encourages his bowler. There's a leg slip and a slip in place as the two attackers, this time Burns in orthodox forward method, pushes the ball out to sort of straightish mid-off. The fielding's done by Ashwin, who rubs it and then works on it with his fingers, having probably wetted his fingers with a bit of sweat first. Not supposed to use saliva, of course, these days. That's a line of leg stump, and again a very straight bat from Burns. That's the sort of ball you might sometime turn leg side, and if it holds up, get it wrong. And he's worked very hard at holding the blade meeting the bat. Hit it back where it came from. Now a reverse sweep, and he can't be serious. He is. He's gone. Reverse sweeping. Played so well throughout the morning. Makes one error, just an error of judgment. The ball did nothing. He went a reverse sweep. It bounced. It's cost him his wicket. Caught off his glove by the wicket-keeper Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, so disappointing. Playing so well. 63 partnership. Using his feet well to the off-spin of Ashwin. Rotating the strike, and then for some reason went for the reverse sweep. Caught the glove, rolled up his arm, and a comfortable catch for Pant. It's a big breakthrough for India, big breakthrough for Ashwin, disappointing for Rory Burns, and it's 63 for 1. Rory Burns goes for 33.
I know Harmy wants to speak, but I tell you what, credit to Ashwin and Kohli to switch to coming over the wicket, bowling a very tight leg stump line. They had worked out that Burns was just looking to try to dominate a bit. He danced down, drove him wide of mid-on. He didn't like that tighter line because he dragged his length back. He found a bit of extra bounce. He forced the batsman to try something different, Harmy.
Yeah, but you say that, Mark, and I think because Ashwin's gone over the wicket, you're thinking, well, Sibley and Burns are doing their jobs properly because they're making the bowler do something different. And all of a sudden now he's just giving his wicket away. And I always get the feel, I always had the feeling, I have the feeling with Rory Burns that the longer he bats, sometimes the more susceptible he is to just lose his confidence a little bit. When he loses his wicket, it's normally either just before a break or just after a break. And me and Goffey just spoke there about how good they've been at being light on the feet, rotating the strike and getting everything moving. And it just seems there that they've had a few dot balls in the last 2 or 3 overs, and as is the case, they need to make the running, as opposed to this is what happens in India, this is what happens in the subcontinent. You have to absorb the ball for 4 or 5 overs and potentially take time out of the game. Don't have to force things. You mentioned it, perfectly before, Mark, about it's not really doing much. The ball's not really swinging. It's not nipping around off the seam. It's not sharp spin.
Dan Lawrence has taken guard and goes forward to defend nicely. It'd be very interesting to watch Dan play. He has a great rap from Alistair Cook. He obviously played very well in that first match in Gaul. 24 gone, 63 for 1. A good over from R. Ashwin. Sibley unbeaten with 26. You mentioned confidence, overconfidence, lack of confidence, whatever it might be. What I can tell you is that in that case, that was overconfidence. That was I hate being critical, but that was a completely unnecessary shot, and even the biggest fans of Rory Burns down at the Oval will know that.
Yeah, like lack of concentration, been playing so well. There was no need to do it. If the pressure was building on England and they feel as though they needed to do it, but when you're cruising along at 63 for naught, it's an unnecessary shot.
It was a block shot there.
Yeah,
forward defensive shot. I was handing over the commentary to you there, Goffey. I thought you
Sorry,
were
mate.
on
Sorry,
a roll.
mate.
You know what it is?
Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder.
Never steal thunder. And again, a forward block. Really a huge stride there by Sibley, who there's no doubt, I'll go back to it a lot, I think. That second innings 50-odd not out, helping them over the line, Sri Lanka, against spin, having done a lot of work between tests, really upset with the way he played in the first test. Really worked on his shape, as this time he doesn't quite stride so far forward, but he still blocks it in the same way with the full face of his bat. Has done wonders for him. He's playing with such a certainty today. Let's hope it continues throughout the day, because there's much to admire about his levels of concentration and commitment to the task. And again, big stride, forward defence.
The thing I like about Sibley, Mark, we talked his attitude, and he talked about after his interview afterwards, and he was asked about India, and he said, well, I haven't batted very well here, and the element of luck that he got, he feels as though he's going to grasp it with both hands.
Yes, he runs one off the blade there to backward point, having again gone forward. Maybe there was a hint of spin going with it. The television is still playing the replay of the wicket, and doubtless, running through the same sort of stuff as us. It's just so unnecessary to be playing across the uncertain bounce of the ball at this stage. And another forward block, this time from Sibley, who has 26, England 63 for 1. We're 25 overs into the first morning in Chennai. The first test of 4, 2 will be played here at Chennai and 2 in Ahmedabad at a new stadium, and there's talk of crowds coming quite soon, maybe for the second test, almost certainly for the third, which will be a good thing. Not full houses, but maybe the ground third or a half full. What a good thing that would be.
Absolutely. And just something to you, Mark, because you've watched and been around cricket a hell of a lot more than me and than Goffey, but how much does an element of luck you need as a batsman? Because Sibley was out three times he was given not out, where the ball was hitting the stumps in that 50 in the second innings in Sri Lanka, and all of a sudden, if he gets out early in that innings, then there's a huge amount of pressure on this, and it's sometimes it's game changing for your career.
Yeah, but I had a very interesting DRS conversation with Kumar Sangakkara, who's got an excellent mind, and we didn't quite agree, but Bumrah. We like Jasprit Bumrah. Unusual, difficult, stuttering approach to the crease, and then this army sort of action. He wheels them around, incredibly long arms he's got, the levers for his pace, and it's nice to see him back into the attack here. 6 overs so far, none for 16, beaten the bat twice. This is his first test match at home, you know.
I know, couldn't
Amazing,
believe that.
after 17 tests.
Yeah, do you know what, when you look at bowlers around the world and you're picking an all-format cricketer, Bumrah's the first bowler on the sheet for me, along with Cummins in Australia. Those two in all-format game, you're picking one team to play all formats who would get in and he'd absolutely 100% be in it.
Yeah, all formats is the go there, isn't it? It's a nice ball, straight, on a length, defended on the back foot by Dan Lawrence, who's a player, sort of, how would you describe? Cheeky chappy, confident, done very well for Essex of late, runs without being an unanswerable case for being chosen, certainly a good case to be chosen, as I say, backed by Alistair Cook, and wouldn't have expected to play at 3 here. Crawley was going to get the nod, even though Crawley got some good deliveries, struggled a little bit in Sri Lanka, but as I say, got some very good deliveries. Anyway, it is Dan Lawrence who stands tall, sentry-like, waving his bat above the stumps, as is the modern way. No batsman left that I can think of who stand orthodox with the bat on the ground. And he defends back to the bowler, who does the fielding, flicks it to mid-on, who does the shining, and the views across to the beach and down into the city, pretty crammed city. Swimming pool just to the left of the stadium. Just can't quite feel that frangipani, smell the frangipani, scent the cordite in the air. the hustle and bustle of... Oh, LBW, is it? Yes, it had to be. Nips back. Brilliant. Really good from Jasprit Bumrah. Forced Lawrence back, then fired one a little fuller, got it to move a touch off the seam or in the air, one or the other. Sibley talks to him now about a review. Does he think it could nip down the leg side? No, I'm afraid not. Sibley said, I don't like it for you, my friend. And the consequence is that for no score, Dan Lawrence has to go.
Good bit of bowling there for me by Bumrah. He's bowled 2 balls just in and around sort of back of a length. Dan Lawrence having to go back outside off stump, and then all of a sudden he's just nipped one back. And I think it is a little bit of reverse swing. I'm not sure if it's because of the reverse swing or it's the angle of Bumrah's wrist that it's hit him on the knee roll, probably in front of sort of middling leg. Initially I thought it was potentially sliding down. I thought he might have gone to DRS because he could have gotten an umpire's call which would have kept the review, but he decided, young man, didn't want to waste the review, and he's gone.
The one thing about Dan Lawrence, and I remember seeing him as a young player at Essex, is but he plays at Chelmsford, and it's very similar to this actually. This pitch, it started to, if you've played at Chelmsford of late, it turns, it can be low and slow at times, but he's always been a player that likes to play. He's comfortable playing off the back foot. He's not really one of those players who gets the 6 studs down, looking to get forward all the time. We saw in Sri Lanka against spin, he preferred to try and play it off the back foot, and he played it quite well. But there it went against him, got done for length, and Bumrah as a bowler does batsmen for length, especially early on in their innings, and that's why he's such a clever bowler. He's quicker than you think, and unfortunately for Dan Lawrence, 5 deliveries into his knock, and he fell to Bumrah.
Well, we must introduce Joe Root, who comes to the crease for his 100th Test match. It's a remarkable achievement. Joe is just 30 years and 1 month. I think that's the youngest of all the English players to make it to 100 Test matches. He has a fine record. We know that. We know how well he's just played recently in Sri Lanka. He carries himself so well. He's a great ambassador for the game and an ever-improving captain of this England side. He desperately wants to score here. He wants to set up this first innings. This wretched game of cricket, they always say, add 2 wickets to the score. We were cruising, were England, and now suddenly 63 for 2, and it's Root to face a buoyant Jasprit Bumrah, who skips in now, and Root is back and works the ball away on the offside. It was just wide enough to play that stroke. He gets a single, and he's off the mark immediately. He's got a black armband on, and we've no idea who that's for. I would imagine for Captain Sir Tom Moore. Many people in England feeling Tom Moore's loss after the extraordinary events of last summer during lockdown, when Tom Moore captured the imagination of the whole nation, and it's sad to have had to say goodbye to him. So Joe Root respecting that with the armband in recognition of all that he achieved. 30 million, amazing, raised for the NHS by Captain Sir Tom Moore, and Sibley pushes very, very well to mid-on. They're very solid. He maybe a bit square on, but you know what? He looks a man committed to the job. 64 for 2.
Yeah, and I was just going to, after coffee there, it's a memo to the dressing room and a memo to Rory Burns that in the subcontinent things happen very, very quickly when you lose concentration. And that lapse of concentration all of a sudden has gone from, like Mark said, England absolutely cruising, looking down, thinking, right, where's the, Virat Kohli, next bowling change. You've gone from Ashwin going from around the wicket to over the wicket to having to change. The best new ball bowler in India is having to change his game plan because England have got India where they want them, and all of a sudden, within a lapse of concentration, a stupid shot, and all of a sudden England are now 64 for 2 when they really should be cruising through to lunch and thinking, right, let's have some lunch and put pressure on the Indian dressing room next door.
Yeah, change the dressing room, Goffey. That's what we used to say, isn't it? Get it to a break. Change these dressing rooms.
Exactly, and it brings Joe Root into the crease just before lunch, which is not a great time, is it? If you want to come in for Joe, it'd probably just be after, well, not coming all day, if I'm going to be honest, in the 100th Test, which is such a great moment. But if India can just prize him out now, it's a massive, massive morning for India.
Well, what, isn't it ever? 6 balls he's got to face. Ashwin bowls! Oh, Joe goes to work him. almost a little lazily trying to knock the ball either back past, I think back past Ashwin or maybe to mid-on. He gets a leading edge in the air at about knee-high for about 20 yards, but there's no one there. Nobody at extra cover, and so he's got away with it. Let's watch again on the replay. Yes, he's working that mid-on ways. Get it straight, that bat, Joe, to start with.
It was the ball that bats was.
He does there, perfect forward defensive. We saw lots of those in Sri Lanka.
It was the ball that Bats was describing earlier, where Ashwin gets sort of side spin on it, and if it doesn't quite hit the seam and just goes off the leather part, it just skids on a little bit.
The skid, not so much overspin, but skid. And he bowls again, does Ashwin, very straight at Root, gets him back. He loves to play back, and Ashwin knows that. Bowls it very full and defends on the back foot. The ball hits the bottom of the bat. So far was he back, and so full was the ball. 3 to Root, 26 to Sibley. Moments now before lunch on the first day in Chennai of the first of 4 test matches in India here on TalkSport 2. Now they want a single. They go for the single. Oh, they ask.
Oh, surely.
I don't know. Direct hit to Root, who wasn't scampering because he didn't think he was at the danger end. He's got a smile on his face because he thinks he's made it. But you never know. These direct hits can cause chaos. What an unnecessary mess here prior to the lunch break, with Burns going, then Lawrence, and now an appeal against Root for a run out. An England dressing room on the screen, each with the heart in their mouths. The hearts are pumping, the hairs are up on the back of the neck. Does Root hang on here? It's a direct hit. Is it? No, it isn't a direct hit. Will that save him? We can't even see if he's in his ground yet. We've only got a view of the third. Oh, he's in his ground.
With the opposite side on.
He's in his ground. All is well, folks.
I want to see the ball, actually.
Yeah, he's also, his hand, for me, Mark, knocks off the bail first. He's not in control of that ball. He knocks off the bail with his hand, and then does the ball go onto the stumps.
No, you're dead right, but anyway, he's in his ground. That was the thing I wanted them to show us, because
I actually think Ashwin said to Joe Root, as Joe Root was walking past him and hit him, his hand knocked the bails off.
Yeah. Bat is grounded before the wickets are broken. I have made my decision.
Well, umpire Shamsuddin has had a real good look at that. Decision pending, wobbling.
It's a not out.
About to explode.
It's a not out from me. There you go. We can all breathe again.
We can breathe.
Well, it just shows you, it shows you cricket, this wretched game that plays on the mind. Why would there be such a daft run at this stage in the moments before lunch? 26.5, so there's one ball left before the lunch break. It's 67 for 2. Why steal a single? Anyway, it's done, move on. Life is about moving on. He defends beautifully twice, does Dom Sibley, and he gets to the close of play on the first day. England is 67 for 2. Root has 4, and Sibley has 27. India look pleased. It's interesting to watch Kohli, big smile on his face, go to some of his boys, obviously Bumrah, who picked up Lawrence. I think they'll be so relieved as much as anything. If England had come in, say, 68 for no wicket, with the bat hardly having been beaten, that would be a very low Indian dressing room. Now it's like a couple of little errors, a bit of panic, and suddenly India feel a bit better about themselves. Having said that, 2 tall English batsmen, Joe Root and Dom Sibley, leave the field, and it's 67 for 2.
Exactly. I think India will be the happier dressing room. England were cruising, 63 for 0. They were rotating the strike really, really well, playing spin well, playing Ashwin well. There was extra bounce with this harder ball they've been using. It's quite obvious that this new seam position, you can see the seam clearly going through the air, and England were in a good position, played seam well, played spin well, rotating the strike, and then suddenly a lack of concentration from Rory Burns brings Dan Lawrence to the crease. You lose 2 wickets, and India go in at lunchtime thinking, we'll take that, 67 for 2, we'll take that.
Ravi Shastri is very chirpy. We can see him on the screen, the great Ravi, who had such a fine career, but also was a commentator of note for so long. Harmy, there's the England card on the television screen, but to our listeners, it's Burns, Cork, Pant, bowled Ashwin 33, Sibley unbeaten with 26, Lawrence, LBW, Bumrah no score, and Root unbeaten with 4. The men making up the England side: Stokes, Pope, Butler, Bess, Archer, Leach and Anderson. So no place for Stuart Broad or Moeen Ali, the other likelies, and Zach Crawley passed unfit to play. 67 for 2, a wicket each for Ashwin and Bumrah. India marginally the happy of the sides. A final little word from you.
Yeah, I'm pleased with Dom Sibley, the way he's played. I thought India didn't bowl that well at him first up, bowled too wide, give him a side to, and I think he exploited that side to. His movements front and back have been very good, and I think there's a lot of lessons in this short 27 overs that England have had in the field that they can really sort of take heed of what this series is going to be about. Things not happening, long passages of play where you're going to have to grind it out, then all of a sudden lack of concentration, things can happen very, very quickly. You know, Rory Burns, what was he doing? I just don't understand that. Dan Lawrence, that can happen, as well as a little message to the England bowlers. You know, when it comes to it, what Bumrah's done there for his team. Kohli said, right, come back just before a break, get me a wicket, and that's a message to Jofra Archer. This is what's going to happen to you. But override emotions is fantastic start by Dom Sibley, and a little bit of concentration, lapse in concentration. England could have been having their lunch in a very, very good position.